Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Close. It is Tuesday, November 19th, 3:46 p.m. And oh boy, have we had a pretty incredible day. Bitcoin has hit 94,000, which is pretty damn incredible. Let's pull it up right here. I don't think we're at 94,000 right now, but you got the entire market kind of going red into the close, and Bitcoin is one of the reasons why the market is going red. Yeah, we're back below 93,000, but we did hit 94,000, which is insane. We are 6,000 away, or we were 6,000 away from $100,000 on Bitcoin, 92,838 right now. You have some people taking profits, you have some algorithms selling right now, but overall, the fact that we broke that 94,000 level, 93 was the target last week for us to be able to beat. And now we're here at 94,000. As a result of Bitcoin going up, well, Microstrategy, oh my goodness, I did not see this at 443. Last time I checked it, it was 425. So this is a surprise to me as I'm looking at it right now, up 15%, even though Bitcoin is not at all-time highs at 94,000. Bitcoin's still below. Microstrategy, as of right now, 3:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, is at all-time highs. I mean, the real all-time high was 449. You're at 444. Let's call it basically at all-time highs, up 15% on the day. This is incredible. Microstrategy is now up more than 500% year-to-date, and the Sailor thesis so far is working out. Nvidia is up 5%. We're going to have Jose join in about 15 minutes. He's going to be giving us the rundown on what to expect from Nvidia earnings. You got Nvidia right here at 147. The street is starting to get a little bit more bullish going into earnings. Tesla up 2%. Microsoft up about 0.34%. You got Grab up 9.92% on the day. Absolutely incredible for Grab. We're seeing a ton of momentum right there. Christian, thank you for the $10 super chat. Amit, please cover this company, ACHR. So we actually talked about ACHR in the morning. I forgot the name of the company. I think it's Piper Sandler. They put out a note that they say ACHR is worth $11 and Joby's worth $8. So you're starting to get a little bit more institutional excitement around the eVTOL plays, and we'll be talking about them more. But those two companies are doing great today. HIMS is up 11%, trying to recover from the 30% decline last week. Now it's more like a 10% decline that they had last week. Rocket Lab up 7%, CrowdStrike up 3%, 353. S&P back to 590 after it fell 0.5% today when the headlines of Russia and Ukraine came out this morning. You got Square up 2%. IBIT has options today up 1.4%. Overall, the entire market, and then Palantir, of course, 62.60. I mean, people wanted a dip on Palantir. I don't know if 58.50 was the dip, but right now it's acting like 58.50 was the dip as we are back into the 60s for Palantir. MSTU also having an incredible day. This is 2x leveraged, I believe, against MicroStrategy. This thing's up 31. Look at these green candles, dude. This is absolutely amazing. And then we also had VRT as well. Vertiv, yep, having a great day, up 14% currently on the day. That's probably due to Nvidia having a strong 5% day. So what do we make of all of this? Well, oh, and SOFI. I forgot to mention SOFI. SOFI's having a great day as well. SOFI trying to break out to that 1450 range. SOFI right here at 1440. Look at that, 1444 high of day, up 3.34% as we get into the market close. What do we make of all this? I think we have to make out of all this that we're in a bull market. We are in a bull market. I mean, headlines today around Russia and Ukraine could not get the most risk on asset to take a little bit of a break, which is Bitcoin. Usually it takes a break on any geopolitical news. Not today. You've got earnings that are starting to continue to do well. Again, we saw Lowe's and Walmart today absolutely crushed. Stocks are not doing the best. Walmart, I think, is doing good. Walmart right here up about 3%. Lowe's taking a little bit on the chin today. Lowe's down about 4.4%. But overall, companies are showing really good progress. And then you've got money leaving bonds. It's definitely piling into money market funds. We'll get another update on Thursday. But you definitely have money coming into equities, and in particular coming into the crypto markets, while also coming into the crypto proxies, the Coinbases, MicroStrategies, Robinhoods of the world. The miners, Marathon. We had Chris talk about that this morning. Where did that one end up today? Marathon up 10% on the day. Not bad at all. So no matter how hard we saw some problems over the past couple of weeks, and we did see some, I guess you can call it dips. On Friday, the Qs fell by 2.5%. The S&P fell by about 1.5%, was getting closer to where we were before Trump got elected. Every time you saw that momentum to the downside, the market came right back. And the reason the market came back ultimately is because we are still in a bull market and people want exposure and people do not have enough exposure, which is why the market is gaining momentum. Robinhood acquired a big company today. Let's listen to Vlad. He was on CNBC this morning. I didn't even know he was on around 1 or 2 p.m. And here's what he had to say about the acquisition and why it was a big deal for them. Also, Robinhood broke 36. I don't know if we closed above 36, but we did break above 36, which is really bullish because we should be back there. And we did that at around 1 p.m. here today.
Having us, we're very excited about this. Wealth management is a huge industry, $7 trillion industry in the U.S. Robinhood, as of Q3, $160 billion in AUM. With Trade PMR joining us, that takes us to $200 billion in AUM. And what we find is that...
So Vlad right there confirmed. I was confused this morning if they would consider the assets in the new company they're acquiring as under custody for them. It seems like they are. So they paid $300 million to get $40 billion under custody. Now Robinhood has $200 billion under custody, which is absolutely incredible.
As customers get older, their financial needs become more sophisticated. The need for personalized, high-quality advice increases. And Rob and team have just built an awesome platform with great technology, and we see an opportunity to accelerate that and to connect their network of advisors to our 24 million plus customers and give them access to awesome tools as they go on their financial journey.
And Rob, talk a bit about the demographics here. You've talked about sort of this gap, and you were describing it as maybe your RAs are sort of the age of maybe the parents of the average Robinhood investor. How are you going to bridge that gap and talk about the demographics?
Yeah, we really want to create a multi-generational platform that helps bridge that gap and kind of introduces parties back and forth to each other. Because, our generation, that is retiring and so forth, even in the advisor world, they're looking to try to generate relationships with the next generation. And the truth of the matter is 70% of heirs fire their parents' advisor when they inherit money. And that's a really catastrophic event. And it's very difficult to reach that generation. So, with Robinhood, we don't have to do anything but reach them exactly where they are, where they have their products, where they have their services, and where they enjoy their user interface. So it makes this a real win-win.
$40 billion in assets. Do you expect any attrition? Are there any of your clients who just might, no offense, Vlad, not want to use Robinhood?
We haven't heard of any yet. So everything seems to have gone over really well. I think people understand this and they understand the advantages this is going to present.
And Vlad, we've got Schwab's annual conference here. A lot of the products that you have launched would compete directly with Fidelity and Schwab. Can you talk a little bit about competing with the incumbents and the success of trying to basically take assets from them? You've offered some promotions, but are you seeing that flywheel continue? And what have the asset transfers looked like?
Yeah, asset transfers have been quite high. In the past quarter, it was we broke through the full year record of net deposits in just 3 quarters with one left to spare. And I'd say when we talk to advisors, registered investment advisors, one thing that they don't like about the incumbent platforms is that they're competing with them. So they have their own in-house advisors, and there's this constant fear that their custodian is going to try to take their account. And I think that's something that's been missing since the TD Schwab consolidation. And what we can provide with Trade PMR is a level playing field for advisors. You shouldn't have to worry that your custodian is going to compete with you for clients. And I think that's a big thing. Like, we talk a lot about the technology, the user interface, incorporating AI, but I think the biggest thing is just being able to compete for accounts on a level playing field and also access the Robinhood network for client referrals.
What is this going to cost? I mean, the Robinhood generation really grew up with free trading. I wonder how you're thinking about pricing some of this. And maybe, Rob, you could speak to what you charge at this point.
Yeah, right now our price is going to remain the same, and we'll continue to price everybody the way we have today. And, most of those are, very low cost anyway for just the platform usage. So we'll continue that for the time being. And I think everyone's acceptance of that.
And is it still going to be free? How are you thinking about that? Maybe all of a sudden needing to charge for these services?
In a way, what we're building is a marketplace. So we want to enable these advisors who are very much like entrepreneurs to connect with our customers. So the advisors will have freedom and flexibility to charge whatever they want. Of course, we'll try to make our overheads as low as possible and really make it so that customers have access to the best quality advice. And I think there will be a natural competitive dynamic, as with any market. But yeah, it's really about empowering advisors with the best technology.
And so, Rob,
So one of the real things about this partnership that I thought was really important is that Vlad said, look, a lot of the bottleneck for these advisors is finding the clients and then not losing the clients to other brokerages or firms after those clients mature. And what Robinhood's trying to do with this partnership is say, hey, we have an integrated platform, and now we're vertically integrating the advisory portion of it. And our customers are young. They're just gaining their wealth. They're gaining their assets from previous generations. They're earning income. And so they want to work with registered advisors to be able to learn how to grow all of that in one spot. And that, I believe, is pretty damn bullish. Now, there's going to be a mix of AI doing that with the human. There's going to be a mix of just people wanting a human themselves to talk. There's going to be a mix of a combination of the human and the technology. But overall, at the end of the day, what it seems like is the ability for Robinhood to offer more services to their customers in every step of their financial journey. Now, we're not just talking about investing. We're not talking about retirement. We're not talking about credit cards. We're not talking about active traders. We're not talking about futures. We're not talking about options. We're not talking or index options. We're not talking about gamblers in the context of the presidential markets. We are talking about financial advice. And I think there's a lot of other verticals they can get into, which is why the street was excited to take Robinhood above $36 today. $35.24 getting hit right now as Bitcoin comes back down to $92,689. Robinhood also went up because Bitcoin went up to all-time highs. A close above 35 to me is very, very bullish as we try to continue making new highs on Robinhood. So pretty incredible stuff there for Hood. NVIDIA right here, 4.78%. We got the market close in a couple minutes. Wow, Palantir. Talk about some freaking strength. $63 towards the last 2 minutes of the close. Up about 2.84%. Now Palantir's down from 66 to 63. It was down from 66 to 58. Again, the dip buyers are there and they kind of don't care. They do not care about your puts. They are ready to buy more Palantir. Palantir 62.98. Coinbase is down because, again, Coinbase traded at a massive premium to Bitcoin. That's crazy to say because MicroStrategy trades at like the biggest premium to Bitcoin. But Coinbase ran a lot before Bitcoin kind of really took off over the past week, and that's why Coinbase is probably getting some profits being taken here. But MicroStrategy, you would think people take profits on MSTR. Nope. I mean, it's down right here from 449 to 432. It's up 12% on the day. Traders continue to increase the premium against the net asset value on MicroStrategy for I don't know what reason other than the options market is liquid. You've got a lot of money coming in. 46 million shares of MicroStrategy have been traded in the past 8 hours. And people continue to want to get exposure to Bitcoin via MSTR. That stock up 12% currently on the day. SOFI looks like it's going to get its best close in over 3 years. 14.42. We got about 30 seconds left into the close. Not bad at all for SOFI. Robinhood looks like they're going to get a $35 close. Yesterday, we just closed above 35. Today, it looks like it'll happen healthily above 35. NVIDIA 146. And then you got Palantir here right at 63, potentially getting 63 on the close. In about 5 minutes, we will have Jose join us and we will discuss NVIDIA earnings. And then after Jose, we've got Technical Tuesday. So don't go anywhere. We will be back soon in regards to looking at all the technical elements of stocks in the market. 4 p.m. stock market's closed. Thank you, everybody, for being here. All right, there we go. Markets closed. Palantir closes at 62.97, up 2.79% on the day. Absolutely incredible. Robinhood gets its second day in a row of a close above 35. That is phenomenal. SOFI closes at its highest level in over 3 years. 14.42. Did someone say Netflix is at 871? There's no way. Oh my God, Netflix is closing in on $900. Dude, Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, the street must be super bullish on what that did for the company, maybe in terms of adding subscribers, users, whatever they're bullish on, up 3% on the day for Netflix. Netflix now trading at a 10 times price to sales. I can't say anything given Palantir trades at a 60 times price to sales, but still, it's not 60, it's 52. But still, that's kind of expensive. I can't say a stock's expensive anymore as a Palantir investor. Like I can't say that anymore. 372 billion on Netflix for their market cap. SoFi 1442, Marathon up 9.69% on the day. Coinbase down about 0.26% on the day. Again, Palantir closing at 62.97, Bitcoin 92,708. Tesla, great day for Tesla, up 2%. Which is not bad at all. Celsius, wow, Celsius 5% in the green. Look at that. Celsius looked like they bottomed at 25.23, today at 27.29. That is not bad at all for Celsius. You got a nice little set of green candles right there from the bottom at 25.34, which was at 9.40. So at 9.40, you had Celsius hit, I believe, a new 52-week low at 25.34. Boeing is up a little bit on the day. Micron's up a little bit. Again, Nvidia, great day. People got really excited into the close, up 5%. I think the call buying on Nvidia was pretty massive. A couple stats I want to show you guys on Nvidia as well. But the entire market tomorrow, I hate to say this happens every earnings, but it does indeed happen every earnings when it comes to Nvidia. There's just a lot of people and a lot of options that are betting on Nvidia. Real quick, here's this stat. So $504 billion worth of Nvidia's options have been traded year to date, the most for any single stock. This is $200 billion more than Tesla, which is the second hottest stock in the market. This is also more than Meta, Apple, AMD, Amazon, Alphabet, aka Google, combined. So you have a massive amount of options in terms of premiums and option contracts trading hands for Nvidia. Tomorrow, the market's implying a 12% move to the upside or to the downside. So doing some quick math on that, 147 times 0.12, you're looking at the upside of 164, or you're looking at the downside of 130 for Nvidia. So 130 to 164 is kind of the range the market is pricing in when we look at Nvidia. Amit, are you watching the SpaceX launch in a minute? Okay, so that's not at 4 p.m. That's at 5 p.m., if I'm not wrong. I don't think that's happening this hour. It's 4 p.m. Central Time, so it's most likely going to be happening 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will pull it up and keep it on the side. And I don't think it's happening right now. Correct me if I'm wrong. But when it does launch, I'm just going to pull up the video and we can watch it together. But it's not officially live yet. Timing wrong. 56 minutes. Okay, so cool. So we have 5 o'clock. All right, so we have an hour. So we're during Technical Tuesday. Me and Jason will stop for like 5 minutes and we will watch Starship go for Flight 6. Which is going to be very exciting to see that happen. SMCI, what did SMCI do today? SMCI was up 31% after they got a new auditor, and that's why SMCI is having a pretty decent day. Let's look at the Mag 7. What was their day like? You had Apple up about 0.11%. Microsoft, they had this new Microsoft event. Satya Nadella was on CNBC, didn't release anything that interesting. They're up about 0.5%. Meta up 1%. Google up 1.57%. Basically, this is the market saying we don't give a shit about the DOJ trying to take away Chrome because we just don't believe that's going to happen. I also think it's just the dumbest idea ever. I mean, there's other parts of Google you could break up, but Chrome it doesn't make a lot of sense. Amazon at 204 up 1.44%, Nvidia up 5%, and then Tesla up 2%. So pretty much every Mag 7 had a good day. Apple had the least of the best days out of the Mag 7 today, but overall still green across the entire market, which is why the Qs were green as well. Rocket Lab also had a great day again. SpaceX raised at $250 billion on Friday. It's setting the TAM for Rocket Lab, $10 billion company now, $20.50. I believe they're 2 quarters away from profitability. I think Q1 2025 they get it done. It's like 10 cents, and I think they are going to be profitable soon. And when they're profitable and growing at triple digits or at least 60 to 70%, which is what they're guiding for, I think the street's going to get very, very excited. And then HIMS also, incredible day on HIMS. Really interesting. I mean, look at HIMS chart. Just on the monthly, peaked at 30.43 all the way from 18.33. It fell to 18 because of some FDA GLP stuff. Then it runs to 30.43. Then it comes all the way back down to 19.11. So just at those October lows, and now right back to 23. So if the Amazon thing is not that big of a deal, then maybe investors are going to continue to buy up HIMS and really just not care about Amazon necessarily taking away any of their growth. And that's why we got some momentum right now in the context of HIMS. Okay, cool. We got NVIDIA earnings tomorrow, folks. Let's bring on one of my favorite analysts on YouTube. I think the best analyst on YouTube when it comes to semiconductors, and try to figure out what the hell should we expect tomorrow from NVIDIA. Jose, what's up?
Hey, what's going on, man? Thank you. You're far too kind, bro. I appreciate it.
That might be a me thing. Hold on. That's probably that's a me thing. Okay, you're good.
Am I good? Am I good?
You're perfect. You're good.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate
What's up, man?
it.
How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty excited for tomorrow. I mean, I think last earnings we did some crazy numbers on the live stream. So I'm hoping we're going to do some crazy numbers tomorrow as well.
Well, you're definitely going to help with the analysis that you provide. Nvidia running towards the end of the day down 5 or up 5%. Looks like the market got some FOMO when it came to Nvidia. Before we get into the nitty gritty, because I do have a ton of questions, and if you guys have questions in the chat, you can put them there for Nvidia. What is your raw kind of feelings and sentiment as a long-term shareholder going into Q3 2024 earnings?
Long-term sentiment, I mean, still very, very strong, still very bullish. I mean, we've heard from so many earnings already that the AI market is here to stay. We've heard from various countries that they're investing in sovereign AI. And there's benchmarks out there, not NVIDIA benchmarks, but industry benchmarks that continue to show that NVIDIA is the leader in inference, in training, and competition isn't even close. So, I mean, overall, bullish for NVIDIA. At the same time, I think everybody's looking at this stock. So any random rumor, any random news can kind of just create some short-term pressure or short-term excitement on the stock.
Okay. So before we get into NVIDIA, I think everyone would love to know your thoughts real quick on SMCI. By the way, guys, Jose on X, I'm putting that in the chat so you guys can follow him there. SMCI up 30%. They got an auditor. Would you touch it here, or are you still kind of a little iffy?
No, I still won't touch it. I mean, at the end of the day, I think we've talked about it before. The server market is a market I personally wouldn't invest in. I mean, there's a lot of competitors. Obviously, now with the stock down so much, you're getting a way better valuation, but there's still a lot of what ifs. So I personally wouldn't touch it. Number one, obviously the financial things, but number two, just that overall server business, even though I am excited about the AI space, I think data centers are going to continue to grow. I think the server business is very, very congested. So you're definitely fighting for like pricing and margins.
Got it. Okay. Well, you made a post on Twitter, so I want to go through these topics one by one. And you said there were some really big events that happened since NVIDIA's earnings that will ultimately add to the broader AI cycle and potentially have an impact on NVIDIA. So the first thing you say is that OpenAI previewed OpenAI or ChatGPT 01, and this changed the game for inference scaling laws. What do you think this has to do with NVIDIA?
So, I mean, 01 is, in my opinion, an inflection point for the next scaling laws of AI. And for those that don't know 01 preview, this is a model that thinks, and right now it thinks for like a few seconds, like I think 10 seconds. And thinking is just using inference a little bit more than your typical answers. And I've read tweets from other OpenAI scientists that they mentioned, hey, look, in the future, we're going to be working on models that are not going to be just thinking for seconds. They're going to be thinking for minutes, for hours, for days, some for even months, depending on the problem they're trying to solve. And I think this is very important because NVIDIA continues to lead the inference market. I mean, they mentioned it in previous revenue, 40% of their revenue already comes from inference solution. So now you're expecting this inference market to grow dramatically. Obviously, NVIDIA will take a nice piece of that pie. And obviously, I'm not going to be the permeable. Big tech is also going to kind of create their own ASIC solutions for inference. So I understand both can be true. NVIDIA can grow, and big tech can also invest in their own AI solutions as well.
Yeah, I agree. And I think OpenAI, I've tried it, the 01 with the reasoning. It is just amazing. And like, I can't even imagine, what the 02, 03, 04 looks like. But all of that ends up going back to NVIDIA. Second thing you said is all major hyperscalers are increasing their CapEx due to AI demand. Have they basically already told us that NVIDIA is going to crush earnings? Yeah,
I mean, definitely. They've told us that they have almost an unlimited check. What is it when just a signed check ready for Jensen?
A blank check.
A blank check. Yeah, appreciate that. They pretty much just have a blank check ready for Jensen right now, and I think that's going to be the case. So it's not just these big cloud server providers. I mean, there's cloud server providers that are opening up all over the world. We have, for example, CoreWeave here in the United States. We have a lot in Japan. We have a lot in Europe that are also just building up their own AI infrastructure as well. So obviously the big players are the cloud server providers, the major ones, but we also have kind of those lower tier ones as well.
Okay. So next thing you say, and again, these are all the catalysts going into NVIDIA earnings, is TSMC continues to mention a supply chain constraint for COWOS. That is essentially a chip on water substrates, right?
Yeah, chip on wafer on substrate, and it's just a form of advanced packaging of kind of putting all the Lego pieces together.
Are you impressed that I knew what that acronym meant?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we talked about it before, but I'm actually pretty happy that you know it. So it means
it's amazing
I
that
might
you
be
can
teaching something here.
No, it's amazing when you have multiple tabs open what you can do. So anyway, yeah. So why is this bullish for TSM going into NVIDIA's earnings?
Because at the end of the day, it kind of continues to tell us that this is a supply constrained market. So there's so much more demand. And it kind of, as an NVIDIA investor, it kind of gives us a viewpoint that, hey, look, we still have multiple years before we can even kind of bring down this demand. So if you don't, I mean, at the end of the day, the market is supply and demand. And if you have way more demand than supply, then great things are going to happen with things like margins. And at the end of the day, there's no real competitor here for NVIDIA right now.
I realized I said water when it's actually wafer. So that yeah. I was reading wrong from Google. But no, I think that makes a lot of sense because TSM, right, they had their best month in October, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just like we're seeing the demand not stop for this company. We did have a little bit of an issue with China as the administration said they couldn't sell to China. But outside of that, I think the tailwinds are pretty high. Okay, 4, you said AMD increased its TAM to $500 billion in 2028, up from $100 billion from the previous $400 billion. Does this just mean that the overall TAM is executing?
It's growing, right? And I mean, we know NVIDIA is taking most of the market share here. So if it's growing, if now it's expected to grow even more, we know NVIDIA is expected to grow with it as well.
Got it. Next thing you say, NVIDIA destroys ML benchmarks for AI inferencing and training. No competition is anywhere close. We kind of already talked about that. Mm-hmm. There's just no competition. Here's one that I think is really interesting. And this is something that the Truist guy in his report today said we need to hear more from NVIDIA. Sovereign AI has become a massive push forward as NVIDIA does AI summits in Japan and India. Jensen's been traveling across the world, getting all the Indians and Japanese to buy up this NVIDIA stock. The Truist guy today in his research report said, we need to hear more than just LLMs from NVIDIA in terms of use cases. What do you think they can say around sovereign AI that can get the street to get more excited?
I don't know what, I mean, they can just show use cases eventually.
I feel like humanoid robotics. I mean, I know that's still LLMs to an extent, but like different industries, I guess they can present.
Yeah, I think it's all going to be LLM, at least at this point. The use cases are going to be different. We're seeing things like climate models, biomedical models, chemical models, so chemistry models, excuse me. So all those, how a country will be able to use it with the data that they have, on their citizens, the data that they have on their language, on their infrastructure. So how will they be able to incorporate that? And I think at the end of the day, while NVIDIA will provide kind of all the pieces, individual countries need to find out how they're going to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I think the thing about sovereign AI that's so interesting is that all these countries across the world, India, Japan, et cetera, they have a crap ton of data, and they want to be more efficient. They want to be more data-driven. They want to get better insights. They want to be prepared for the 21st century. And Jensen's basically convincing them that you need something like NVIDIA's offering in order to amalgamate all that data and then make sense of it and then protect it in a pretty meaningful way. And that's where sovereign AI comes in.
I mean, I think a pretty great example is looking at kind of the business world. Foxconn, I'm pretty sure many people know Foxconn, which is a huge manufacturer of electronics. They're also a huge manufacturer of AI servers. They're using NVIDIA solutions to kind of help build out the constructions of their plants. They're helping it to, like, before all the equipment is there, placing it, running the robots line. And there were reports that showed that their numbers are going to show about 20 to 30% savings because of all the AI solutions that they're doing. So if a company can do that, imagine what a country can do with those types of solutions.
Right. Okay, then you say there's been some massive nuclear deals from Google and Amazon in October alone. The White House also said that they want to triple nuclear production by 2050. Why is that a potential tailwind for NVIDIA?
Because right now, it's going to take time for these nuclear deals to come true and for the products to be released. But it kind of gives you the mindset of where these leaders are. These cloud service providers are thinking 5 years in advance that, hey, look, we still need to build these data centers because the demand that we're going to need in 5 years from now is going to be much higher than we have right now. So it's kind of just giving that evidence that in the upcoming years, we still have that strong demand for AI chips and AI solutions.
Yeah, and it's pretty damn incredible. I mean, we know a company like Oklo, which is a pre-revenue nuclear startup, is up a lot this year. Sam Altman's the chair of the company. He's also running OpenAI. You would imagine OpenAI wants to build even more and better models. They're going to need a lot of energy. I mean, like, it's so intertwined and it makes so much sense. If there's use cases from AI and we need to train better models, and Blackwell in 5 years is not even going to be as advanced as NVIDIA's new GPU, then we need energy. And it looks like it's got to come from somewhere, and maybe nuclear is the solution. Okay, last thing you said is that you believe that the drama around overheating that the information reported on Sunday night, which actually caused NVIDIA to go back down to 137, around their servers is nonsense. Why is it nonsense, and why is it not a real concern?
Because servers, remember, a lot of people think this was rehashed old news. This is different. A few months ago, we kind of had overheating on the chip, and that was due to some masking issues. And that to me was somewhat of concern, but we heard during the earnings call that while it was a concern, they fixed it really quickly. Now, this overheating issue is more on the server side, and this is something that can be reversed engineered if it's true. Even I'm not going to say if it's not true or if it is true, but even if it was true, this is something that can be completely reverse engineered and not something that, in my opinion, would make me feel any weak hands for NVIDIA in general.
So the servers do affect the GPUs, but your argument is the server providers, the SMCIs, the Dells of the world, they can navigate it, and NVIDIA can reverse engineer from the problems, which means it shouldn't lead to a massive delay in ramping Blackwell, essentially.
Yeah, so pretty much with these server makers, NVIDIA usually creates kind of like a reference design. Hey, look, you're going to build these servers on my chips this way. And when it's a new product, sometimes you have to refix certain things. And it's very common for NVIDIA to kind of, hey, look, this way we originally thought was good. Maybe move this product this way, maybe kind of increase your server size by this amount. And that's very common in the server space, in the AI space. It's nothing new. So it seems like there was some overheating, if true, but again, it could be reverse engineer. And NVIDIA, I believe, responded to Reuters and mentioned that that's something that is typically in this market, and they're already working with any issues if they are arising.
So we got a question here around this overheating. Jose, the Intel chips that overheated recently ruined the chips. Can the same happen to these Blackwell, or can they be fixed if they're overheated?
I have not heard of any Intel chips overheating. I don't know if he's talking about this. If there's AI chips or the consumer chips, it all depends where it's coming from. Is it actually the chip, or is it kind of the body it's in? If it's the actual chip, you can't really reverse engineer that unless it might be like some bug creating some over throttling somewhere.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So overall, you think the stock's going to go up or not tomorrow?
So I think at the end of the day,
like, I think that's what we don't care about, right? Like,
yeah. It's going to be a great day for option sellers, in my opinion.
That means you think the stock's going down,
or it might just not move, or it might just, yeah. I think long term, I'm super bullish in the stock. I think this stock is so viewed at right now that anything that might be a slip up, the press is going to go crazy with it and create some form of negative sentiment after hours. Long term, super bullish on this company. Short term, I think option sellers are going to be the winners tomorrow.
So there's a 12% implied move. And being a seller on that implied move is way better than being the buyer of the put, because it might not get to your target, or the buyer of the call, because it might not get to your target. And again, it has to get way above your target when you're buying the call, especially if it's out of the money. But you think that it's already at an all-time high, already up 200% year to date. Therefore, it's one of those things where, what is your revenue projection? Because the street wants 32.5 billion, but I imagine you're expecting 34.5.
I'm going to expect at least more than 33. We're seeing revenue growth expectations and earnings per share growth are expected to be 84%. And I think that's wild, because now we're already starting a quarter where last year we were already seeing the AI growth. So previously we were seeing triple-digit growth because the AI market still hadn't really started. So comps weren't as great. So you were able to see those triple digits. Now we're starting to see the quarters where we were already seeing that revenue growth. So 84% year-over-year growth, super strong. I do believe we're going to get closer to that 33.5, maybe 34. Data center revenue, I think we're going to be closer to the 30 billion. Adjusted gross margins are declining a little bit, but we do know that this is because new products are coming out, and during the ramp process, that tends to happen. You tend to have kind of lower sales of the product, which kind of mix a little bit with the margins. So I think they're going to be in revenue, in earnings per share. Very excited there. And
out of these numbers, what would you see that's like, oh, that's just bad? Like if adjusted margins, for example, went to below 70, that wouldn't be good, right?
Yeah, that wouldn't be. I mean, NVIDIA already guided around 75% for this, pretty much online with what analysts are estimating. I think anything below that would really scream that there might be an issue with Blackwell, because that's pretty much where the margins are going to be hitting the most. So I think anything below 70 would definitely be a red flag in the short term. But the great thing is NVIDIA is so far in the lead right now, man, that it's even a bad quarter isn't necessarily the worst thing. NVIDIA can literally take a nap, can go to hibernation for a few, and competitors are still not ready for NVIDIA. I've
been hearing that in a lot of the sell side reports that I've been reading the past couple of days. They keep using this term that there's just no competition.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think they're trying to justify higher price targets, yes, with like the numbers, but also by saying, guys, like who's fucking with NVIDIA? Like no one, right? So even if the quarter is not amazing, at the end of the day, if we believe in the long-term potential of AI, the thematic of the growth story, there's no one that's going to outcompete them, which means you would buy the dip if it goes down.
Yeah, definitely. And to me, I just want to say, while I do sound like a perma bull here, man, maybe your viewers might think I'm crazy. I'm always a realistic. I think stock prices can go down dramatically for anything, for NVIDIA. Supply chain issues, they might have an issue with any type of technology innovation that's happening right now. But to me, that's more short-term pain. And those short-term pains can create great buying opportunities. I think right now, the long-term opportunity is still pretty much intact. And I think right now is the time for patient investor, both for buyers and both for sellers.
Okay. Last question, Jose. CUDA software. I think you saw the Google headline with quantum computing. Do you think they're going to talk about CUDA at all as like a bigger part of their overall story?
They've mentioned now that software is kind of running at about a $2 billion annual run rate. I think that's going to continue to grow. They already announced numerous things with the quantum space, and it's just a great segue to show the only real competitor to NVIDIA is NVIDIA itself. The only one that's going to kind of beat these next AI solutions is most likely going to be the type of computational power we get through quantum computing. And who's there in the front line learning about that? It's NVIDIA helping develop those solutions. So the biggest competitor here is going to be NVIDIA in that space. And they're definitely going to showcase more software revenue as things progress.
One more quick question. VRT, I think I've asked you about the name before. Do they get any tailwind because of the SMCI drama or no?
No, they're doing more of like the cooling solutions and the infrastructure build. I think they're just getting this massive tailwind from just the overall AI growth. At the end of the company, that is a company that is dependent on the construction of data centers. And we all know data centers don't take a few weeks to build. They take multiple months. Some can take years. So long term, they look good. But I think investors might be expecting too much in the short term for VRT.
Got it. Love it, Jose. Appreciate you every single time. Jose and I will be live tomorrow at 3:30. We will start NVIDIA earnings coverage. Going to be very exciting. We also have Snowflake and Palo Alto Networks tomorrow, but NVIDIA is going to be the star of the show. And his Twitter is in the chat. I'll see you tomorrow, Jose.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man. And thank you to everybody that just heard me ramble for a few minutes.
They love you, dude. Every time they love you. Thank you, man. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. All right, folks, from one guest to another, it is time for Technical Tuesday. And now I must roll the intro.
Rolling it, man. He's in. We'll get it soon. It's getting there though. It's looking good, man.
It's good. I like it, dude. I get hyped up every time I see the intro. It's great.
It's a good one. It is a good one.
So in In 34 minutes, we're going to have to stop Technical Tuesday, and we're just going to quickly switch to SpaceX to see how the launch goes.
Got it.
So, because I know everyone wants to see that. So for those 34 minutes, guys, me and Jason will probably just add our commentary while we're watching it. And we will see if Starship can have its 6th launch, which is going to be exciting. Starship Flight 6, that's the name of it. Okay. All right. So, well, it's been a pretty interesting week.
Close.
It's been a fun week. We got some tickers to discuss.
Oop.
I'll let you pick. Which one do you want to start with?
We always start off with Palantir. It was very, very close yesterday, man. And just so you guys know, I sent him in. And I was like, oh shit, this day yesterday was not a good look. And I'm like, what? By
the way, I told everybody what you said. You said 62.10. If we don't hold that, then we're going lower. I told them.
Yeah, 62. Well, I also and a couple of you guys DM me too. You're like, hey, look, you talked about 59, and I did, and 59 is right. It's literally right where we stopped at. So this is the spot. It's not a short. And I did. So truth be told, I went into today short Palantir. But
what?
I did. And I quickly covered. Hey, I didn't lose any money. I actually made a little bit. But I quickly covered the trade when I had a trade. And by the way, what I posted on X. You're like, hey, this is probably the moment where you could actually do a costless caller. Right. And that's what I sent to you. It was like selling December $72 calls for, at the time it was $1.50, and buying December $55 puts as a hedge with that same premium. So your net outlay was actually going to be $0. Even right now, it's about the same. I think it's like $35 right now. Right. But the trigger. So here's where we are. So on this day, what we do is kind of like halfback. So Palantir is not out of the woods yet. I think this is what we call a kill candle, or we call this a trader among us. we call this a kill candle. It doesn't mean it's a short. So if we go back in time, you can look at this type of setup all over the place. NVIDIA's had a multiple and still continue to grind higher. Palantir's had a few as well.
Hey, well, what exactly is a kill candle?
It's like a big candle that starts to stop out a lot of people that were in at the highs. It's a form of exhaustion. So you might call it an exhaustion gap. Some traders would probably call that, if they're old enough to have been trading long enough. But an exhaustion gap is like when price and buyers become exhausted, you get this kind of quick whipsaw like action. And a lot of times it can get bought up, right? But it kills the trend, if that makes sense. So it does put Palantir in a bit of a rest mode. And I think that's what we're seeing, right? At this point, like, you're still, if it's still not a net new long, it's like hey, this is a potential small little blip that held. If you're below that 50, it's 58.86. And if you're below this, then yeah, you're probably going to go down a little bit, but we're not talking about a lot. It's like, this was a down 10% day on Palantir, which in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't look that bad. But this is not going higher and it's not going lower at this point in time, if that makes sense. So really today's close on Palantir is meh, to be fair. Technically speaking, it's not super bullish, but it's definitely not bearish either. So it's very much neutral. And so that's what I think we're stuck in. So where this goes from here is, like, we really want to start to see closes over 65. And then at that point, and that's this last Friday's high. So if you start closing over 65, well, then your net green really on the whole week, right, moving forward. And so that becomes kind of like that line in the sand. If you're closing over 65, 32 is what it is, then the week turns green. And this is what it looks like from a weekly perspective at this point. So this is where we stopped, was not last week, but the week before's high. And so this trend is still intact, but I think this does mean that we go in a little bit of a chop price action, and eventually resolve in one direction or the other. At this point, it's very much neutral. So we're right in the middle. if you're short, technically you're not invalidated either. Not unless you're closing over 63, but this trend near term over 62, I just don't want to have anything to do with being short on Tesla, or not Tesla, on Palantir, if that makes sense.
Are you surprised that we are that?
No. I'm not surprised. I took this, and the whole time I was thinking, I was like, this feels really dumb because this is like, I'm going to be short the strongest freaking stock in the market. I feel the same way if I'm shorting Tesla too, which by the way I covered almost instantly. It's like they look exhausted, but look, the buyers are still scooping this up. I think the story still plays. I was like, hey, is this FUD or what's going on?
And you texted me yesterday, like, is this FUD? Why are we down?
Yeah,
10%?
I'm like, you look at a stock, you're like, it's down 10% intraday, and you're like, what? Something's going on, right? Like something's going on, but you know, it's really, it's not that big of a deal in Palantir's terms. So that's where we are. I think, you know, this is a spot to take some profits. I did on my equity, not a lot, but I haven't taken profits since that dip buy in whatever it was over here.
August 5th, right?
Yeah. So like I haven't taken anything down since 25. I wanted to hold it for long term, but you know, I finally just took a little bit. And I was like, screw it, dude. I'll take a short-term gain hit. You know, I just don't. I don't want
to. So in plain English, I mean, I know you're saying it's really hard to kind of determine right now, but
this looks neutral.
Yeah. So you don't think I mean, there's a lot of people on Twitter, I think you've seen it over the weekend, that are, you know, saying Palantir is the biggest bubble they've ever seen, going back to 35. I mean, what do you think about those types of
35? No, I think you're smoking something like really good. If you're talking about 35, because at that point, like if you're talking about 35, then you're basically saying this whole thing is a smoke show.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're saying this whole thing is smoke show. And I think, you know, to me, it's in the 50s, 55, it's 54s, which would be a good pullback. And quite frankly, like this whole look, if this whole look starts to be like, woo, and you get this little, it's at that point that you actually kind of get worried again, and you could kind of like look at this, and that's more or less what you'd be looking for. But so that puts us in the 55s to 50s range for a solid pullback, assuming that you think that the story is still intact and the growth is still there, which I think we do. Really, that's all I was looking at. But between 60 and 60, whatever it was, I'm looking at. I'm like, that's like 25%. I didn't want to take that type of haircut, so I'm like, no. And I would, if you're not going to trim, this is exactly the situation where a costless collar to me makes perfect sense, because you're just at 25%. Honestly, man, or 20%. You're just looking at a basic pullback. It's not even anything crazy.
Yeah. It's not a bubble. I think a bubble is 50% down.
Yeah, no, a bubble's like, dude, this is a smoke show. It should never have been up here, right? And I mean, at worst case 45, but even then it's like, well, if you really think 45, then you definitely want to collar. And that's why I was like, my first intuition was to collar the stock, because I didn't really want to take those near-term gains, but I ended up taking just a little bit anyways. But if you do a collar, first of all, it's not going to protect your whole position. It doesn't cost anything to do it either. And it's not for like major. So let me see. I'm going to synthesize. I'm going to do a synthetic really quick.
While you're pulling that up, Trump has named TV personality Dr. Oz to lead the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services.
Dr. Oz?
I did not expect Dr. I didn't know him and Trump were tight. Okay, there you go.
Is he even a doctor?
Yeah, no, he's a legit doctor. He just had a talk show for like
Is he?
years. No, he's definitely a legit doctor. But he became a TV personality more than like a doctor.
Okay.
This is good. This is well, I'm saying good as in this is funny. I'm not saying this is good or bad. I'm just saying there you go. That's you got.
Yeah, so here, this is just a synthetic. Where'd it go?
Dr. Oz, huh?
All right, so if you were long 100 shares of Palantir and you bought a December 55 put and you sold a December 72 call, right now you actually get that for a little bit of a credit. So it's still costless. Like it doesn't cost you any money. And it hedges you slightly. So your net on this delta, it hedges about half of your shares. So just so you know, in this instance, if you were to do that, you still have all the profit all the way up to 72 on 100% of your shares. And you're hedging about half of your shares at that point in time.
Right. Okay.
So it's
can
not
we
even a full like hedge?
Right. All right. Can we go to Tesla? Because Tesla had two pieces of news last week. One was the EV credit going away. It fell 10%. And then the self-driving regulation.
Dude, I dodged a freaking bullet, man. I was short Tesla in here. And then I was looking at it. I'm like, and then I'm like, this day I ended up closing my shorts. Actually, because it closed over like right here. And I was like, this is too close. This is too close for comfort. And boom, gap up.
So it gapped down because of the EV credit news, and then it gapped up because of the self-driving regulations were going down. So two big pieces of news swung it in opposite directions. My question to you is, are they neutral like Palantir, or do you see an uptrend or downtrend?
So they're neutral. It's neutral like Palantir. This 345 here, what I'll do is I'm just going to go ahead and go straight across. It's very close. So 350s and I'm going to do another line right in here. So no, we're not going left yet. Now I can go left. I'll go on a daily. So to me, this was my first target, 315. And so I've kind of always been looking for that retest. And I think, we got this retest here, 311s. Take this red line off. But right now we're in this box, right? And so last time Tesla was in this box, it was in this box for a very long time, right? About 6 months or so. I mean, we're really close to the highs, but if Tesla can get through, sorry, I'm moving around a little bit. Let me get this here. See this right here where you have a lot of pivots up in here around this 350 area. It's looking like about 355. So this is the box right now. I think Tesla's really stuck in. So 330, 328, which is that last week ago high. Right now, we have what's called an inside week, which means that so far this week is inside of last week's range. So 360 is really the breaking point. And we have a lot of overhead kind of supply over here. So if Tesla can trade next week, not this week, but if we can close this week over 360 and open next week over 360, I think I think we see 400s.
Wait. By the end of this year, you think 400s?
Yeah.
If we close above 355.
It's just what the technicals say. Like, it's not really anything. This is just its trend. So where it's holding each spot, this 312 was that triple top right here. That was a big pivot. That was a big spot to hold. I don't want to be short Tesla if it's over this level. So right now it's not a short, right? But it's not a long either unless we can get over 360. And if Tesla can do that trajectory, I have this really old line. There was an old session gap. It's 405. So I think you basically get to all-time highs.
And what's the opposite? So 355, you could get to all-time highs.
The opposite. I'm not interested in shorting this at all unless we're below 315. 313 is 313.60. I have no interest in being short this, right? And so when I was short, it was really just this near-term kind of movement, and we just closed below. So I'm like, okay, I can swing short. But instantly, the very next day, it was too close of a call for me to continue to swing this. I just didn't like that. And near term, that trend, what I needed to see really, if you were going to stay short, you needed to see early day. This would have had to have like popped up. It could have popped up like that, but it needed to sell off quickly. And because it didn't, that short is near term invalidated.
Right.
Just like Palantir, right? Like it had to have gone down quickly, and you'll know pretty much right away if it is or isn't. By the way, I went to 7-Eleven today just now, and I grabbed one of these things.
To save your company. Yeah.
It's Celsius. Yeah, because I saw it going up a little bit. I had no idea why, so I figured I'd give him a little boost. But
Okay, can we do one that you called out last week that has done very well? Square.
oh, Square, it's still cooking. Just so you know, this hasn't even happened yet. So if you remember Snowflake, so this is, I'll just drop it back to the weekly. I mean, entries, if you grab them here is fine, is great. And then at this point, 73s, you're like, okay, this is going. When I say it's not actually going down yet, we still have these little, where is it? Right there. So this is that last spot. It's just high 93s. Look at this, man. It's so close. Like, it's crazy. It's literally right there. So this guy goes, it's going to get nasty parabolic. It's not there yet. So if you had early entries, what I would say is this is actually a time to get a little bit more defensive than offensive. Hopefully you're in the trade and you just kind of like, you're in the protect principal mode. Yeah. And Square is also a BTC play. This was my whole thesis, where it's like, okay, we're long Coinbase at 165. We're long Hood at $8, $16, 20 something dollars. And they all have this like proxy Bitcoin type play. You can stay long. The greatest Ponzi in the world, by the way, that thing is a freaking monster, MSTR. I think that's like a foregone conclusion. But it was like, look, there are still under the radar proxy plays. You know me, I'm not big into miners. I think you could trade them. But if there was an undervalued, underrated, under the radar proxy play for crypto, it was Square to me, right? And so it is Square to me. Maybe it's PayPal, but we can look at the PayPal chart. I didn't know that you can buy Bitcoin in your Venmos, but apparently
and to see Square, you have to kind of think outside of the square.
Yeah.
Think outside of the box. Right?
Outside the square, right? And so, but it's always been Cash App, right? Like you talk to. So here we go into Thanksgiving. Bitcoin, by the way, we always talked about the eating season because I'm a big guy, right? We like to be long Bitcoin into the holidays. And so we're coming up on Thanksgiving next week, right? And if you remember that whole situation, it's like your family, your friends, everybody's around on Thanksgiving. And you're like, hey, have you seen Bitcoin? Have you seen Bitcoin? I told you last week, my brother's like, dude, I hope we still have Bitcoin, right? And I'm like, yeah, don't worry. But if we get into that situation again and everyone's family is around there, and if your dad or mom start asking you guys, how do I buy Bitcoin? Okay, it's on, right? Like it's on and it's cracking. And we are into alt season, which, by the way, alt season is a little bit different. So alt season is still in play. And I think that gets to a point where when we talked about holiday FOMO, yeah, it's always the holidays. And it's specifically Thanksgiving, right? Thanksgiving, we want to be cautious because Thanksgiving has marked the top for Bitcoin a couple times as I can remember it. Because there is a lot of FOMO that goes into it running up to that. Yes, Grumpy Head, it is the eating season. Yeah, Halloween, Thanksgiving, New Year's, Christmas, New Year's. Yep. And so anyways, I think this Square, very much under the radar proxy play to Bitcoin via Cash App, because you've been able to buy cash or buy Bitcoin, specifically Bitcoin, for a very long time and hold it for a very long time. And I believe Square has a decent chunk of Bitcoin on its balance sheet as well that I don't know that it's getting credit for. So anyways, long story short, I said 135s. Right. And so that's where I'm going. Right. So I'm still in this trajectory. I don't think we've gotten to that parabolic state yet. First stop, to be fair, is going to be 110s. If we can break through literally where we sit right here, right now, ahead of earnings. So this is critical mass, if you will, big time on Square right here. So pivot. So this is the break, the support. Essentially, this was prior support, then resistance, Now resistance, what we're looking for is for this resistance to break through. It can retest, and for that resistance then to turn into support one more time. We call this an SR flip, right? So like SR flip. So support turns into resistance, and resistance turns into support. Right there is what we're looking for right here. So it hasn't gone down yet. We're at resistance. We're at critical mass. It looks very constructive. It looks very good. I don't want to get over my skis. There's no such thing as high conviction for me. There's just everyday trades. I think this goes. I still think this goes. Stay long, be long. Sorry. That's it.
And your 12-month target is kind of 135-ish, where you're looking at. Or not 12 months, your like next few months target.
Yeah, less than 6 months.
Okay.
I do. So for swings, if I think it's 3 to 6 months, I'm probably buying a little bit longer than that. So eating season up through January, February. So I'm further out than that at this point.
Got it. Okay, so we have 13 minutes left until we're going to show you guys Starship. I think that might last like 10, 15 minutes, and then we'll get back to Technical Tuesday. Can we do Rocket Lab?
I mean, it's just going up. It's $20 again.
What did you think of 52% on earnings, dude? That was.
I mean, dude, it's we talked about this. I had some January calls that were I think they were 1250s. I sold those out. I just have stock left. This is like, so as we get into earnings stuff, what you're going to see is a lot of this type of action. So what's crucial is not $20. $20 is a big psychological level, but let's say Rocket Lab will attempt to breach this last high. It's going to attempt it, right? And it's going to get really close. That's 22.55. It might pull back a little bit, and we want to see really that 21s hold. And then we want to see an extension above. And this is just still going. What you don't want to see is this stall out. And I'm going to show you an example of something that happens all the time is you see this little breach and not able, this is Disney, right? So big move upside right here on earnings. You don't want to see this start to stall out. At this point, if you see something like this is going into a holding pattern for a very long time. I don't think Disney goes down. I don't think Disney goes up. I think it's a prime candidate for selling calls and selling puts. And I think it gets stuck in this kind of box. So what we want to see is, let's see what's, we're probably not going to see like a Palantir move post earnings because that's like expansion. I'm trying to think of another one. Shopify, same thing. You get there, not a good look. It's going to pull back a little bit. Who's had a decent earnings and started to grind up? Me one.
PayPal?
Tesla.
Well, yeah,
so
Tesla.
Yeah, so Tesla, it's the thing. You grind up post earnings, and if you pull back, what you're going to do is you're going to do this little fib exercise, and you're going to look for half of that move to be given back. And that's just like on Tesla from here to here. We call this half back, 243. That was your level. So let's do it on Rocket Lab. It looks good, but we got to be very cautious. So from here to here, I mean, you're basically already there, 1850. So we've already had our half back moment at this point, because if it doesn't extend through, I think this becomes the box, right? And your dip buys are around 17, and then you're just back in the waiting game until it can break this range right here.
So kind of neutral on this as well in terms of trying to break.
Yeah. I mean, it's nosebleed areas, but like, hey man, it would be cool to have. Let me give you some upside targets if this does continue. So the next levels, 26s, 25, 2650s. If this does break out of this range, you're going into here. And it's hard for people to come up with like targets when things are at all-time highs. I believe this is all-time high anyways. Yeah. So the reason that this 2130s is important because that is that prior all-time high. So make sure you have that on your chart so that becomes like really significant. You want to like get back over that why it broke down there is also pretty significant. But if it can get through this, look, and this high, then you're likely into 2650s. And I would probably at that point really got to go check out Matt and defer to him on where you want to go in terms of valuation.
Right. Okay. We got 10 minutes left. Someone in the chat said they might delay it till 4:20. So we'll see if that happens. But if not, then we should be good in 10 minutes. Can we do SOFI?
I'm long, dude. I ended up swapping out for the crazy leaps.
Well, what's your play on this? What are your leaps here?
My leaps? Jan 2027.
For what, 20 or 25?
25s.
Okay, so you're expecting about
80%. Good buys are around 250, but for me, they're sitting at 310, 300, give or take.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
I mean, I just had to, so because we did Hood, right? Hood is just freaking amazing, but I'm not super happy with the Hood stuff. I mean, it's good, right? It's green, right? It's over a double. I think the Hood, it was a 35-40 call debit spread is what I took. I know yours was a little bit tighter, but as things, especially like this, as they go and you have a lot of time, I don't want to be constrained by a spread, if that makes sense, because I'm never going to get that full value until I like fully expire. Right. And so like on a $5 wide spread that I have for Robinhood in general, here's the rule of thumb. You're going to get 75%. If you go fully in the money on a long call debit spread and you're fully in the money, you should expect to get about 70 to 75% of the width of those strikes, right? So for me, at a $5 wide spread, I know that I should be expecting maximum, let's say Robinhood's at $50, I'm $10 in the money. I should be thinking I'll get about $3.70 out of that debit spread.
Until you get to expiration.
Right, but if I hold it that long, the thing is that when you're long options, and if I have more than 50% of the width of the spread, like if the value is already more than 250, then I at that point I have more to lose than I have to gain.
Right, because anything.
And I need to treat it as such, right? Yeah. And so it becomes a different way to manage it. You almost manage it like a credit spread at that point, because time has to basically be on your side, and and you're going to start making money through decay. You're not going to be making money through price action. So I have a limit.
And you want to make sure you stay in the money on those.
Yeah. So I have a limit close on the $5 spreads that I sent out today at 250 per spread. Those were opened like at $90, right? And that's fine, right? And I'll take out the majority and then leave. I probably leave like 40% on, and I'm really looking to probably like roll on those, because it was actually a sizable, as we're talking about Hood, I'm looking at SOFI, sizable dollar allocation, because I was pretty confident it was going to happen. And here we are at that level. So I think it's fine. Like it could chop around. 33 was that was the big deal for me, right? When this IPO price.
So we'll go deeper into it, because I want to have a broader conversation on it. So we'll do that after the Starship. But on SOFI, you pick 25 because you think it's just, you want those straight calls.
So it's opportunistic, right? So number one on SOFI, I think it's the same thing. We're clearly breaking out on SOFI right now. We have it's critical mass again. We have all the like fundamentals on our side in terms of like the Fed, not fighting the Fed, things like that. We are this is my kind of like resistance level, right? So prior support here, this is in 2020s, 21. This was support. $14, 14 and change. So I'm expecting this to be resistance, but where we are and the current setup, I think that this it has been somewhat of resistance level. I think if we can breach through, this is going to be like a beach ball to me. Like you hold like if you hold a beach ball if you're in a pool and you hold a ball underwater and then you let it go while it's underwater and it goes pops up. Pops up. In that event, I don't want to be short options, because volatility is going to just explode right in my face. And higher volatility is not good for debit spreads in general.
So on SOFI, was the close today above 14? Was that bullish to you, or 14.40?
It's bullish. Yeah, man. It's pretty bullish. Like at this point, like 14, it's pretty bullish. It could get, this is like the AFRM chart now.
Firms taking off as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like, I don't want to be short calls if IV here, see, because options are about what we call like convexity. Does that make sense? So like, if you're in futures, so if you buy a 50 delta call, then it goes up, you're at 60 delta and 70 delta, 80 delta. And that's for every $1, it's only the first dollar you make so much more. The second dollar you make so much plus XYZ more. Third dollar you make that plus another more. $4 plus another more. So you have that convexity, right? And right now, even though SOFI has been like on this trajectory, when I was taking this little pullback here, honestly, this is a week sideways. It gives me a little bit, enough of a break on volatility with earnings out of the way. Actually, this is probably a good chart. With earnings out of the way, like IV is the 35th percentile. It wasn't like that with Hood, right? So I was okay on Robinhood because IV is was a lot higher. Anything below 50 percentile, I don't need to have. It doesn't benefit me that much to have a spread on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because IV will continue to climb, and at the point when it does get to the point of being over the 50th percentile, then I'm like, okay, well, I can start to spread off. And in this case, one way to manage this is sell. If you get up to some of these targets, I then sell a higher call against my lower strike. So a further out of the money call, I might sell against my closer to the money call at that point. And that is a way to book profits, but also keep the full trade on, if that makes sense.
Okay, Jason. So we got 3 minutes until Starship. So you got 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Can you give us Nike in these 2 minutes?
I was looking at Nike today. It's really interesting. Not happening yet. So Nike is right into where you would expect this to stop going down. But I need, what I need is a trigger. So it's this little blip on the radar. And it's literally sitting on it. So the last kind of pop place it was at right here at 74.50. It's not giving me that trigger yet, but it's the momentum of this going down. What we're looking for is like the day. So remember M phase, and I was like, look, the second that you have a sub 1% day on N phase, yeah, slap it, go ahead and sell some puts. And actually that worked if you end up doing this. And today's a very small range on Nike. It's been expanding range. So it's less than one. It's about 1.3% on Nike today. Tomorrow, and I think this happens pretty quick. Nike's one of those stocks where it ends up making like 80+% of its move in a single session. It could happen pretty quickly. So the price point of interest, or where you're going to start to get that expansion to the upside, is $75.20. So I trade this way because I do options a lot. And if Nike starts to get over 75.20, you get into this range expansion mode where actually you're definitively in a reversal. And I think the market is kind of like on high alert for Nike specifically. It's at a good place. It's at a decent price. Or it's at a good price, I think. But what I now need, that just means watch. Now I need something where the daily close tomorrow, the next day, starts to close over this 75, call it 75.25 level. Then I know we have a reversal on our hands and we're going back to the upside on Nike. And so that's just kind of what you have to do. So it's tough, right? And so this might take a couple weeks so you can see this. But if it does, and you just go, this is what you're looking for. And honestly, I think that you'd be looking for initial levels.
All right, we got to switch now. But I agree. Also, your boy Ackman is buying a ton of it. So
yeah, specifically why. Last one is Meta. Just watch it. I posted. You can do the thing. But we're launching.
We're launching. So there's Trump right there. He's looking at it live. You got 10 seconds. Here we go. We are live.
Next up will be the deluge.
This one doesn't have any audio, guys.
Is this English?
Here we go. This is it. There's the launch. I actually like there's no audio. Oh boy! There it goes. This is the 6th one that they've done. Guys, is this one gonna be caught by the chopsticks again?
Are we gonna see the whole thing?
I think it takes like 10 minutes and then it comes back and it gets caught with the chopsticks, right? It gets caught with the chopsticks, right? It's using a reusable rocket, I believe. Yes, people say yes. Okay, so we should see it come back down. In what, like probably 10 minutes? I think it comes back down.
Is this a new rocket design?
No, it's the same. I don't think it's a new one. I mean, is Rocket Lab? Where's Rocket Lab right now? Because these always make Rocket Lab get excited. Rocket Lab. Yeah, it's up 0.5% after hours. This is incredible.
What is Matt's target on Rocket Lab?
Dude, Matt thinks this thing's going to. I think he said 50 billion. That was his target, like at $4. So,
bro, I'm telling you, we should have just gone
90 seconds into the 6th flight of Starship. Everything looking good so far. Correct me if I'm wrong, yeah, Alex, but I see 33 healthy Raptor engines.
Dude, every time.
Absolutely.
Just went through max Q, supersonic.
Trump is watching it live right now.
Going through 20 kilometers
real quick, guys.
Now.
This is Trump. He's just watching it happen with his son. And then there it is.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Gorgeous launch.
And we are just approaching now the hot staging maneuver.
Starship is the big one. You've probably seen a lot of Falcon launches.
But of course, it's absolutely
so this is the big
insane.
One.
They will ignite the engines on the ship before the MECO, before the stage separation. So what they basically do is they will use the thrust of the second stage to push the second stage away from the booster.
Yeah,
that maneuver is coming up. That hot stage maneuver.
It's going to switch the camera to a different one too. So.
Watch out for that main engine cutoff. Well, I guess most engines cut off now.
Have you ever seen one of these live, Jason, or no?
And there it is, hot staging.
What, in California?
And
no, in person. No. I watched stream live.
The booster will do a flip now. The booster will do the flip right away out of this maneuver. You can see there.
So this crashes with Rocket
now
Lab.
In boost back.
That's the flip.
No, I think this will be bearish for Rocket Lab
the
for
critical
sure.
phase where the flight director
and tower is go for catch.
If it crashes.
Let's go. That's what we want to hear. That means they will try to attempt the catch here. The second catch attempt of
okay, so what's the
program.
Story on this one,
that
guys? Did they messed up
all
the first
13
one?
engines on the booster are firing.
Is this
heading back to
like the one that got caught in the chopsticks? That was that also Starship, or was that
insane.
A different one?
And that catch is coming up roughly at 7 minutes after liftoff. So you're already halfway there from liftoff. Just saying. And in about 3 minutes and 30 seconds, we will know
that was
Booster 13 will follow Booster 12.
There's no commentary.
There's
no commentary on any of the streams. They don't have any.
Boost back burn looking healthy.
First, that's the first shutdown.
Chopsticks was Starship Flight 5. Okay.
And that's good.
And then a final shutdown. It's staggered.
Tesla right now.
And remember, this maneuver is a bit different versus Falcon 9. While Falcon 9 performs an entry burn to slow itself down, this requirement does not exist for Super Heavy. So the next burn, this booster will conduct.
Hold on, I'll try to find another stream.
Is the landing burn separated? By the way, you can see it there now floating.
Oh, you can hear it
from the booster.
The audio, the video is too low. Oh, I don't hear this. Hold on, that's
if you
why.
Squint, of course, because it's very close to it right now.
Oh, you can't hear the video?
I can't hear the video, dude. I've been talking.
Oh yeah, we're hearing it.
There it goes.
Oh, let me shut up.
Coasting down back to the launch side. And that booster is now our center of attention the next 3 minutes. Looking good so far. Whew, Alex. Ascent already going great.
Oof. The ship continuing into orbit.
That's what we want to hear. The ship, of course, on its own journey.
It looks like the booster is now no-go for a catch.
Okay, there we go. That was
it's going to be
that
diverting to a splashdown, unfortunately.
There we go. SpaceX has confirmed that not everything apparently is green for catch, and they will aboard
So the tower
catch
was
attempt.
go before, but during that boost back burn, it seems like they have decided to not go for the catch.
And that
it's
is
okay,
the final
you know,
commit.
That's
a final
that's
commit,
why
right,
all of
Alex?
these, yeah, that's why all of these you know, commit criteria need to be followed and need to be, you know, looked through and everything. It's why they are there, right? But hey, ship continues into orbit. The booster will not return to the launch site, but it will attempt a splashdown on the Gulf of Mexico. So if that goes well, that'll be a good piece of data that they'll get from the booster.
Absolutely. This is we still have a lot of things to track here today. So get ready for still a lot of excitement in the next few. And the ship, I mean, let's be real. The star of the show today is very much also the ship. That thing has still
look at
quite
that.
a journey for us. Look at that.
Now
booster.
it's re-entering, but remember they have just confirmed no catch, so it is going to be attempting a splashdown. We're going to try and track it all the way and see if we have luck.
Yep, absolutely. Look at that tracking. Gorgeous. And basically the booster has changed its trajectory, so it's no longer going closer to the tower.
Should be coming up on that landing burn. There you go.
That's the landing burn. That's what we want to see. And there's the water.
Down selecting to 3.
There's the 3. And
see, it's doing the translation just as if it was being caught. And now,
yep,
there you go. And I would not be surprised if now it blows up, by the way. So don't be surprised. Yeah, there you go. Good job, booster. Good job. Was that the sound?
I think that was the burn, right? So next time,
yeah.
I'm listening. Do we get a boom?
The ship, meanwhile, continues to go into a nominal trajectory. So far, so good.
And it seems like we don't get the explosion sound. But yeah, everything on the ship seems to be going well. And that, again, that can happen. Like, let's be real. This is the thing that can happen. And that we always said, they only would commit for this catch if everything went
Engine
absolutely perfect. Oh, there it is.
Engine count, look at that. Okay, the vacuums have shut down as expected. Should be coming up very close to that final shutdown. Look out for that speed. Should be, I think it's targeting about 26,000 kilometers per hour for these flights. But don't quote me on that.
Going down here. But, I mean, ship looking good so far. We have not heard that anything on the ship is... and there it is. Engine shut off.
There you go.
Ship. We are now waiting for confirmation of good orbit on ship. And the ship has quite a few milestones still to go here. Because the ship will still perform an engine relight in space and will also try to perform, of course, this more aggressive...
And good insertion.
There we go. That's good. That enables SpaceX to do more milestones here and potentially get a lot of valuable data from the ship. Wow. Look at these views. I love that engine camera. I'm glad we are getting that, and I hope we get that during the engine relight. When is that engine relight again? Do we have a timing of that?
Yeah, it is about 37 minutes into flight, so about 26 minutes
Really
from
cool
now.
to see it lift off.
Absolutely.
To be more precise, if everything follows the same timeline, which again, times are approximate, but SpaceX has it at T plus 37 and 46 seconds. So that's sort of the point in the timeline. So we have a little bit of a coast phase here. One thing that I'm looking forward to, though, during this coast phase, we're going to see orbital sunset.
Oh, true.
And then sunrise.
That's going to be cool.
So watch out for that.
Absolutely. And I believe we maybe have somebody on comms here again. Gene, do we have you?
I'm speechless. I'm speechless. That was not intentional for my audio to cut out on top of the roof because I was going to talk, but the fates collided, and all I had to do was stand and watch. And I wanted to commentate on what was going on.
All right, so I think that's it. You're muted, Jason.
I was just watching Elon yapping Trump's ear off on the WUSA 9 channel.
Oh, hold on. Let me go to that. Where's Elon?
Oh, you're not live. Just fast forward to the live. But you can't really hear anything.
Why can't you hear anything?
It's all muffled.
Dude, the freaking president is just chilling with him. He's trying to. This is like when you fuck up on the test and you're trying to explain to your mom why you failed. You're like, look, I studied really hard. They didn't actually ask the right questions. Like, and Trump's just like, okay.
He's like, but it just exploded.
Trump's like, but it went kaboom. Like,
oh God.
That is Ted Cruz. How did Ted Cruz? Well, it's in Texas. That's why he's there. Okay.
Yeah, my buddy's out there right now. He's like, dude, he's flying a plane. He's like, I think I'm gonna be able to watch this like from the airplane in the air.
Wait, so guys, what happened? Like, it was still a successful launch, though, right? Because the thing is still up in the air, doing its thing, right? But the rocket blew up, so they can't reuse it, obviously, which is not good. But the Starship is in orbit. Okay, so that's the.
Did you remember? Did you ever play with like Estes rockets when you were a kid?
No.
Do you know what that is? Estes, ESTES rockets. I mean, the chat probably knows what I'm talking about. But like when as little kids, we would shoot off rockets in the park or whatever. But if you could shoot off one of those rockets today and like have it be caught, like that's wild,
That
man.
is wild. No, you're right.
It's wild.
Why does Trump say he's just like
he's like kind of, but it exploded. I saw an explosion.
But I saw it explode. I thought it doesn't
explode.
Oh, Tillman Fertitta is there too. That's the owner of the Houston Rockets. He's a billionaire, right? But we got a lot of people here, huh? All right. Well, that's what we had on Tesla. Tesla down a little bit, 0.5%, and Rocket Lab down about 1/3% right now after that launch.
I mean, that doesn't really count though.
Yeah, I mean it's not that big of a deal.
Dude, I wish I had more conviction when we were talking about this. It was freaking Rocket Lab and it was Rivian. I went with Rivian initially, got a little bit of trade. That thing is a womp Rivian, but yeah, Rocket Lab. There was the two stocks, man. I know you remember the two stocks that had the potential to be 10x in 10 years. That was both of them. I still think Rivian maybe. We'll see.
Oh yeah, I asked the question, which one 10x is first, SOFI, Rocket Lab, or Rivian? Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, no, that was the whole. Those were the three, right? And I don't think either one of us were for SOFI 10x, but it was Rocket Lab and Rivian. To me, have the potential. I mean, still Rivian, if it ever gets its shit together, right now it's not the deal.
Okay, can we do NVIDIA?
But Rivian's back to the potential 10x in 10 years level at $10.
I mean, they also got some liquidity the other day, so that was
yeah.
Right? Okay, yeah. Can we do NVIDIA going into earnings tomorrow?
Yeah. So I think this was typical. This little NVIDIA pullback one, and we had our. Hopefully, do you guys all listen to us on Thursdays when we do this tech talk? Hopefully, you guys do.
But not everyone in the chat, but a few of them definitely tune into that Twitter space.
What do you mean not everyone?
Dang. There's definitely not 1,500 people. Most people aren't on Twitter, dude. They're on YouTube. They're not on Twitter.
I believe you. I do believe you. So anyways, this is normal. And I think the comparison was Palantir ahead of earnings. So like Palantir, if it was ahead of earnings, this is just comparison. You have this big move to the upside, and then people get a little nervous, right? Heading into an actual earnings report. So you see this like typical couple days sell-off. And I think today was the end of that for Nvidia. Did the earnings actually get leaked on Nvidia?
No. Last time they got leaked like 2 hours before, and they were kind of accurate, but I remember I tweeted that. I got the whisper numbers, and
yeah,
it's pretty accurate.
So we got the same thing. So this day you lock a lower high, and you expect like a little bit of a pullback. And to me, it's like this 150 level. I thought that we were really going to breach that 150 for like just a little bit, and then take off. But oops, I need to get to where we are today. Sorry. But really, we just kind of like retested and held. I think this is the 20-day simple moving average. Somewhere on here. Yeah. Okay. So it's this. So a 20-day is here that we really just kind of like hovered on. And the whole, like all the indices did exactly this. Like they breach, just slightly come back in, kind of pull a bit of a liquidity grab, if you will. And then like beach ball right back over it. So we're right back towards the highs. I really thought, because I have leaps on this, somewhat leaps, not really leaps. I thought we were going to get over 150 just for a little bit so I can take some profit. So instead today I went ahead and took a little bit down because we will get a heavy volatility crush post earnings. I still think it goes up personally.
Yeah, there's a 12% move. So 130 or 167 is what we're looking at in terms of the range.
How are you getting that?
Just 12% from the current levels.
You want me to do it like you're saying?
I think you'll come up with the same numbers. Like it's going to be between 130 and 160. That's what we're looking at. That's what I would imagine.
Okay, well that's what's implied.
Yeah.
So last quarter 6.4%, 9.3 before that, 16.4 before that, 2.5, 0.1%. And then a 24.4.
DXYZ crashing after the Starship launch is stupid because they own a ton of SpaceX, but this Starship launch is not a reason to be bearish SpaceX. So I don't know why that's tanking.
Let me just do this real quick. Let me do a real situation.
Yeah, they're down 16%. Holy crap.
Historical IV 54. 6.4. Sorry, give me one second.
No, you're good. You're good. Don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just talking. It's not like SpaceX's valuation went down because of the rocket blowing up. I wouldn't think so. I think there's plenty of investors willing to buy it at $250 billion. So that's weird that they're acting like they need to sell it off. Then again, I don't like these ETFs that have startups. I'm really not a fan of them. So they're always a bit risky. And they don't really tell you exactly, what they own of the startups, but weird that one's down. DXYZ, that's the one that we're looking at. And it was still a successful launch. Yeah, it was still a successful launch. That's weird that it's down 16%.
So it's underpriced. So Nvidia, let me just get rid. So this is just like my basic stuff. Every time we go into earnings, this is what was reporting today. But Nvidia actual real average move over the last 6 quarters. So that's what this is. This is 6 quarters. So a year and a half of data on average has an average move of 9.85% right now. I'm going to put this here for historical volatility. The front vol near dated is unfortunately at 108, and longer dated vol is sitting somewhere around, let me get to it, coming, 50s, it's right in those 50s. So you can go out to December. It's not horrible. It's not good. Let's go 58. So you're going to get a 40% crush on near dated options, a small 2% IV crush, give or take, on long dated options, if that makes sense. I'm going deep in the weeds here, but just go with me. So on average, the average move is $14.48 over the last year and a half for NVIDIA, which would put it up at 161 or down to 132 on average. So of these, we've had more than average move twice. So that actually means that you have like a 20 or less than 30% probability of making money going like long or short options directional.
Yeah, buying options doesn't seem like the move.
So what this is saying is in the last 6 quarters, it's made more than the average move twice. So that gives you like a 33% probability, 33% probability of winning just based on taking any directional skew. It's not good odds. Conversely, it's 67% probability of taking a neutral trade on NVIDIA. But the one thing that I would say here is that the current implied move as of right now is $12, which is underpriced for the average move. So if you really feel convicted and you take a directional trade, you could potentially make a little bit of money, not a lot, because it is currently underpriced by $2.48. Okay. But your probabilities are better to do neutral. Is this kind of like a 50-50 type thing? Because it's slightly, if NVIDIA has like an implied move of $20 and it's only broken average range twice over the last year and a half, I would say hammer the table. We're selling vol. We're selling options left, right, center, and that's what we're doing. But I don't have that here. I do have it as look. It is directionally. It's underpriced slightly. So as long as you get the direction, you're probably just okay. Just okay.
Okay.
Sorry for crushing any dreams there, but is what it is.
But overall, going back to the chart, you think it is a bullish chart, and you expect them to beat and do well.
Yeah. So I have 165, right? And what did I say the average was? So actually, the average is 161. So it's I have 165. The average move upside would actually take it to 161 right in here. This is my trajectory. So maybe you get a couple other extra days. And this is this pullback, this whole trough right in here that I'm looking at. I can extend this slightly. But so this was that downtrend. If it does come down, you'd be looking at that 50-day simple moving average, which is going to leave you right into 131 from an average move perspective. So you'd be looking essentially at this pullback to the 50-day 131, at which point it would probably just like chill, give it a 3-day rule and probably start to make its climb right back up into this target regardless. Because here's the thing, even if NVIDIA has if it has an average downside move of about 10%, that does not break this chart long term. It has to have, the only thing that would really break this chart is if it has a massively outsized downside move that breaks it sub 125 or 123, right? So 123 was that $3 trillion mark, wherever that was, somewhere over here. So if NVIDIA does really like lose this level, because we're saying, we always been saying kind of accumulate down here. If it's below 123, that's the $3 trillion mark. And that would be a significantly outsized move to the downside. At that point, then this chart would start to be really concerning. But if not, it's not. How I would potentially legitimately play NVIDIA earnings, if that's a real question. Can I even answer that? I don't know if I can answer that.
No, that's fair. I mean, I think you have a good sort of price target range for what people are looking at, and ultimately it's going to come up to if they can beat heavily on the numbers, and that'll determine.
Yeah. Legitimately, I would sell. Look at this. They're doing it already. So on the options chain, you're seeing a lot of 160s. I don't know. I would sell that. I would sell a 165 for Friday call, and I would probably buy December 20th 165 call and do it as a time spread.
Yeah.
And most of my, because that, ooh.
We got some breaking news here from Benny. Breaking: Michael Saylor to present to the Microsoft board next month on buying Bitcoin for their treasury. That's exciting. That's exciting.
What a guy, dude. What a guy.
All right, can we do Hood?
Oh, yeah. Oh, were we just taking a pause? Now we're back to TT.
I'm back to TT. Yep.
Oh, nice. Okay, so I like Hood. I'm just gonna sit in my calls for right now. It's not a spot where I want to. So, like I said, I put my limit closing order on the 35-40 debit spread for 250. I think just because we're somewhat extended on this channel, so that now goes away. What's good about this, and if you guys have been following along at all, like and you watch these like simple moving averages or anything like that, you'll see, like I've always said, we want to get in things when your moving averages, the distance between the simple moving averages is expanding, and that's exactly what we're getting, and that's when you get this kind of like exponential move right now. So I think it is $40 near term. The trajectory of that near term is like within 6 months. The trajectory of that, I think at this point could get a little choppy. So I think it could get like exhaustion, if that makes sense. But we are in this box at this point right here. So $40 is going to be psychological type resistance. What does that give us from a PE perspective? Do you know?
PE right now on Hood is 60, 40. Probably 75. 60, yeah, 60.
It's 60?
Yeah, what, you thought it was less than that?
I mean, I'm not really that big of a fundamental guy.
Well, why does it matter? You think PE going up is bad?
Well, like what's Nvidia?
Nvidia's PE is 69.
Okay, so
I mean,
like
Hood could, if Hood pops and Nvidia drops, Hood would be more expensive on a PE basis than Nvidia.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's
starting at 40. So did you see the headline today
on Hood?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they bought a wealth management RIA platform, which is big.
So it's just like, dude, these guys,
they don't fucking stop. They don't stop.
These guys, yeah, they're not stopping. I just don't even like, I'm just not going to sell this thing. They're acquiring a portfolio management platform. So like, if you know IBKR at all, this is a whole nother niche. Like IBKR actually is like an ecosystem for, RIAs or like registered investment advisors if you want to have like your own fund and stuff. So like,
right.
That's a whole nother line of business that could potentially be a bolt-on. So I think,
well, that's also why I'm not looking at PE that much, because they are in such large S-curve growth mode.
Yeah.
That if they can actually execute against this, and you've got the crypto tailwind, markets are not going to. I mean, they are going to get as much exposure as they can.
Yeah. So like, and
they're buying back shares, bro.
Yeah. So here
they're acquiring companies, buying back shares, and growing 36%. And profit.
I say these stupid things, and I'm like,
that's why I'm not selling calls on any of my shares. I'm like,
no. I only do that when I'm like, I'm gonna sell. Like Palantir. Look, I actually trimmed a little bit, so like I don't mind saying it's maybe not like maybe sell some calls at 72. If I sold a covered call and got called away for a portion, I'm not gonna cry. Like I'm not gonna cry, and I'll still be long. But
it's hard to sell calls right here on Hood, just given.
No, I don't. But the thing is, and that's why I'm looking at that call debit spread, because technically I'm short $40 calls, technically. And I don't like it. So I mean,
overall on the chart itself, the 35 and 36 hit today was really good, in your opinion.
Yeah, no, it's really good, right? The 33 hold here is more important to me than the 35 hit, if that makes sense. So the 33 hold and breakthrough with conviction here. Look, we rejected just slightly and then pull back, never really broke structure. And then boom, gap and go. This is gap up and go. If I got the 33 opportunity again, how crazy is 50 in 2 years' time, 3 years' time? I don't know.
I don't think it's that. Well, it depends on Bitcoin more than anything, but.
So they just opened these $50 strikes on Robinhood Leaps just recently. And like day one, there was like 1,500 volume. Today, there's another 1,800 volume on them. And so if that 1,800 volume becomes open interest next week or tomorrow, then I know that they're just buying it.
Yeah.
And so like I would rather take probably, I don't know, 10 of my debit spreads down and just open some of those like YOLOs, if that makes sense, like 10 for one, like take 10 spreads down, buy one outright, and put some money in my pocket at the same time, because it could potentially stall out here, but to your point, like these guys are just relentless, like absolutely relentless right now on what they're going after. Like it's, Vlad's like, oh, we're going to be number one in active trader. Like it's almost like he sees that as a foregone conclusion at this point and has now already moved on to the next phase. And I'm like, what's happening right now?
Yeah. No, it's exciting. It is very, very exciting, and they're executing like crazy.
Ian's got a question. Do stocks need to backfill gaps? The answer is no. No, they don't. So there are certain rules that we trade around gaps. Like, look, if you thought, stocks need to backfill gaps, then you would think that Hood would be $12.
Yeah, there was a gap at 7 when Palantir was 15.
Yeah. So no. Isn't DXYZ? Isn't that like Destiny Tech?
It's a stupid fund, bro, that has a bunch of startups.
It has a lot of startups. Oh, I was just looking at this at like $10 the other day too, and I was like, this thing seems like way down there.
I don't like these at all, bro.
No, I think it's you can't. There's no real. Anyways,
there's no liquidity. Yeah, it's like
no, there's no real liquidity. That's just
all right. Trading. Can we go to Meta?
Yeah, so I think Meta is a very important chart right now. So, if anybody's in like, so I use a very simple but like beautiful candlestick system in general. And so for Meta, what we call these are broadening formations. So Meta, I talked about this before. I'm like, I think this is going, and I think it's like a foregone conclusion. But what was going on is that, and I'll just replay this intraday. I actually took this somewhere over here, 575s, right? And so this is a daily chart. So what's happening with Meta is that you're getting range expansion, and that's actually a good thing. So we have a series of higher highs and a series of higher lows, believe it or not. So this is the range expansion on Meta. This is a week or so ago. This is early November. And so what happens when you're in this setup, right? And I think it's really important. These are probably the hardest setups to trade, number one, but you got to know like what they are. So what happens is that you continue to potentially see a series of higher highs and higher lows. And that means that the market is now in a new price discovery mode. And so especially when we're somewhere towards the highs of a price in a price discovery mode, see, this is lower lows, but also higher highs. And then we went through, and this, I believe, got close. This is daily. I'll just take it from a week to week perspective. So here, last week, we actually had a higher high than the week before. And we also had a lower low than the week before. But notice this green line on the lower end. This is $55.20. The way this works is that if you start to reclaim that prior candle, not this one, but the one before, this is no longer going down. And these are probably some of the most violent reversals that you'll find in the market. in terms of range expansion. So at this point, so the first thing that we need to do is we want to see 575 reclaim. I'm currently long the stock. I'm currently long I'm currently long stock. I got to pull up my crap. I know I'm in short dated. I say short dated December 600s. And then I have also, sorry, January's higher than 600s for a potential breakout, actually. So to be fair, the first thing is 575. So if we get basically back to this halfway point, so I'm looking at this and we want to get to half of last week's range. And that's going to be at the 20 and the 50 day are all going to be in alignment right here. So like this. So the gray line is the 20 day, the blue line is the 50 day. So, and half of last week's range is going to be about 575. As long as we're over 555 on Meta, I think this is a foregone conclusion. So that means that this week's candle ends up really looking like this, which it's Tuesday. That's not a lot of time. So we're talking on a pretty large move is what I'm expecting in the next couple days. And if this can continue through, it's really through 580s, at that point, we are probably going to have new highs and we're going to continue to make this series of higher highs and higher lows. And if we can get through something like this might be 2 weeks, right? So it's potential that we have something like this, right? Does that make sense? But first stop 575 level to level, right? And then if we can expand beyond 583, then I think we do see a new high over last week's high. And this is that range expansion. How many times have you seen this kind of setup? It's pretty regular. And you actually breach into over 600s. And then if you can get a little stutter step, now I'm really going, then you go higher. And I think that is this is supported net by this full trend here. And again, it's 543 would have potentially been like, hey, this is the lowest that we could go. So if we lose 555, I think we do go to 543, just to be fair. And that's a clean retest. But that would potentially, at this point, it's not going to look like that until we're here. Like that could happen. So just be aware, this is what a failure of this whole setup would look like. But in the meantime, I'm still thinking, hey, look, we probably see, I think we see these new highs and this from this expansion here. Let's just take this. This is a more complicated technical setup, but this puts you into 630s. And then like weekly wise, it's all kind of like supported here because this, let's go here from here.
Oh, we go quick. We got some breaking news. Trump said to consider crypto lawyer Teresa Goody Gulen to lead SEC. I don't know who that is, but I'll research her in a second.
So here's how that plays. So on even a longer time frame, if you're over 575 on Meta, this is a monthly chart. This monthly candle is red. If Meta closes the week over 575 at any point, like this week or next week, this monthly chart now will flip from red to green.
Right.
That makes sense. And that's when you have like you are continuing on. And that is also supporting 630s on Meta. So it's higher risk, but definitely higher reward. I would say 555, this is crucial. And as long as we can continue on tomorrow over 560s, and really
Meta goes back below 500, I'm a buyer. I am a big buyer.
Yeah,
and that's stupid, right? Like,
but look, it's like this, right? Like I bought a stock. Don't hate on me, because I bought an old man stock. I bought a boomer stock this week, just a little bit.
Was it Boeing?
I did.
Wow, I got it on the first try. Okay.
How did you know that?
I don't know. I guess. Okay, so Jason, let's go back to Boeing because we got a lot in the chat and we got to get through all of them. So we'll get to Boeing right at the end, but we got to knock.
Yeah, so this is Boeing's the same thing. This is probably like one of the most historical range expansions out there. And this is exactly the same thing that we just talked about on Meta. So usually you want to buy the edges. So you have series of higher highs, boom. boom, 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 right? So is this range expansions? This is market and price discovery mode. I actually had 133s as like my potential low end, but this is kind of like one of those where like, look, man, it was 138. I was like, it's close enough for government work. Every time, you know, like if you wanted to buy Microsoft sub 400, look, every time you get close, like that ends up being it. And if I've ever been, you know, from a stock perspective, I'll like wait, like, oh, I'm waiting for what, $5? What's the difference, right? And if I end up waiting, then I end up missing it. So I went ahead and just nibbled on this exactly same setup, but much larger time frame. I feel like it's fairly de-risked. You know, if there's another crash, the stock's probably going to fall out. Like the bottom's probably going to fall out, and it hits 120, but that's going to be a buy anyway. So that's what I was like, okay, well, I'll just dip my toe in the water. Near term, it was this day. So here, so this day when we got over 142 right here, so daily high, and now we're extending. At this point, we need to get over the 150s. I think this is the biggest kind of like trouble spot. But if this trajectory holds, it could be like a Nike at 70 kind of situation, because I'm not saying it's going up here. You do get into this mid-range, right, at this point. So like half of this ends up being like 200, which is a pretty hefty move from this level. If you can get,
and I don't hate Boeing either, because they just finished resolving a strike. Now they have a shit ton.
Yeah, it's like peak bad news, right? So I'm like, I feel like SMCI is probably peak bad news. I've never been a big SMCI bull, but I don't think that their accounting is great, but I don't think that they're getting delisted from all stock exchanges either, right? Like it's still a good business, or it's still a growing business with AI. SMCI might also be peak bad news potentially. So,
okay, so we got a bunch of tickers. I'm going to do 3 minutes on each one, because we got a lot to run through. So let's try to run through the next 10 of them. So 3 minutes on Grab. We look at Grab.
We looked at it last time. I feel like it made the move. Yeah, dude, come on. So actually I had this 4s, 5s. So this is gap go. I don't know what this is a Momo thing. So we were talking about this. It needed to hold. I think it was this 4s. And then you're back into here. You've closed this gap. You're literally right here. You know, without being a big fan fundamentally or really following. I know there are warrants outstanding. Maybe those are, as long as they're not like diluting the stock, then I think this could continue on. You know, your next level, 7s and 10s is what it is, dude.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah. 7s and then 10s. You have a little pivot in the 8s, but yeah, that's as now you get this every time you get this stuff, right? So you want to breach. Now you want to hold 5s, mid 5s. You want to hold mid 5s as long as there's a dilution event would tell you that. But if you can hold the mid 5s or low 5s right there, and this gap, then I think you can expect to see in some time 7s. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Can we do Archer?
Daniel? ADM?
No. ACHR. It's a eVTOL flying jet. Archer.
You guys are hitting me with penny stocks. It's same. It's
this one seems like it has potential though.
Is this? It was the one that Kathy is buying, the private jets that you can go. What's that called?
Archer Aviation.
Is it?
Yep. She bought Joby too. Joby and Archer, both of those.
Joby.
So they got a price target upgrade to $11 today. They have $6 billion in backlog orders, $2 billion market cap. So that's why people are getting a bit more.
Can I show you something? So I think we're gonna, as we get into the back half of the year, or the back like last end of the year, we get into I talk about altcoin season. There's a seasonality for small caps and mid caps. Here, there's look at that, boom. So there's a seasonality to small cap and mid cap. This is the Russell 2000, like actually 50-year seasonality. So small cap strength, we call this the January effect. And I don't know if you remember this or not, but look at this. This is seasonality charts. So 50-year trend. In late December, these tend to bottom out. You get this pop late November. This is where we are, right? We're right in here. If you get this pullback and you lock a higher low, this is totally typical seasonality for IWM, for the small caps in general. And you have this massive boom into the beginning of the year. And they call this the January effect. So just so you guys know, you will start to see exactly this kind of stuff happening over and over and over. And this is seasonality, like in its finest, right? So like, I think it is the season. 'Tis the season for your small caps, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But yeah, this is, again, like critical mass. If this goes, I think you're back into these sevens. And then was this a SPAC? Looks like it was.
Probably.
Looks like it was a SPAC. Then you're in the tens. I mean, greatest SPAC of all time is DraftKings, but like, you know, maybe one day you get something like that. But
okay, can we do Amazon?
I bought it yesterday, and was it today? Yesterday? Today? Right in here. So I think we are. So real big fat retest would be at 189. I don't know that we're going to get it. That's that double top prior 2021 highs. At this point, what we are looking at is that 200 retest right in here. Just under 199. I think it's a big psychological level. I believe Bezos is not, he's done selling what he's filed for, I believe. It's constructive. And this is your prevailing kind of downtrend or uptrend right now. Again, so I had a little bit of confluence across the board. I'm flipping around time frame so this you can see this a little bit. So this is this recent uptrend. Just support here. So breakout. So resistance, boom, broken through. Can you see this big enough?
Yeah.
It's 199 resistance. Now support. We just talked about that SR flip. So resistance flips to support. That's what you want to see. Can this breach a little bit? Yes, it can. But this is the current channel up that you're into. And you typically want to buy as close to this line as you can. And potentially even if it breaches like this. So like a big buy would be 195s. But right now we're holding at this point. So this was your first kind of like potential retest. Monthly wise, this is still absolutely confirmed breaking out again, but that was 189s, right? So monthly candle fully above this. You got to give this a minute because this is a large time frame chart. This can take multiple months to develop and actually go through. So this is, this is where we are, but it's still pretty constructive.
Okay. Can we do PayPal?
Yeah, I want to do PayPal. I haven't looked at PayPal in a while. So it's not quite as good as Square. I have this 83 line on PayPal. So whenever it's talking about, PayPal is down in the 60s, and I'm like, maybe to like 83s. It's broken through. It looks really interesting, dude. So like I have a different fundamental story now on it, somewhat. So sub 80, I might take a shot. The thing is, I just don't really believe in this new CEO. I just don't. But maybe they do shock the world. Maybe. But you get this potential pullback. I don't want to see it sub 80. I think this right here, this is a weekly. 88 is a hard spot, and eventually 92s, near-term upside. So I think this next dip, you can get as close to 80 as you can, and then potentially make a pre-earnings run. This is not for, into the 92s. If you crack the 92s, though, this all of a sudden gets really, really wild. So I've not been in any rush to get into PayPal because it's one of those where like, look, if it's there, it's there. As long as this is over 80,
Then it's good.
There's this thing. They go $80 stocks go to like 120.
Yeah, it's told us last week. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that would be up in here, 120. So like, but we're on a weekly chart. Let me see this monthly. The monthly is there, right? Like it's there. Critical mass, right at 88s.
Yeah, and look, PayPal's had really good earnings. I just think they need to get the street excited about their narrative. That hasn't been exciting yet, but the numbers are not bad at all for PayPal.
I mean, yeah. The thing is, I'm just not into the payment processing stuff.
It's not a catalyst. Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't think it's there. Like it has to be. Is it a potential proxy play? Maybe PayPal USD, right? And now being able to buy Bitcoin and Venmo, but I still think Square is the better chart right here, right now, of the two. This is probably setting up. And again, here's this level. It's right in 79s. They had that big giant buyback planned. Do you know if they are done?
No, not. I think we have another $1 billion left.
Another billion?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they seem to be smart-ish traders. Last time I saw their buys go through. So it's close to 80, just sub 80 as you can. I think they start stepping in also. So hopefully holding a floor on it. It's just a question of whether or not the street is excited enough to really push this in over 100.
Okay. Can we do MSTR?
No, bro. It's just going up. What do you want me to say?
There is no TA to do on this one.
What do you want me to say? Greatest Ponzi in the world. The thing is just gone though.
Why do you think people keep putting money into this when there's Bitcoin ETFs and all this other stuff? Like, what do you think is the psychology behind traders?
This is beyond all targets for me, honestly. Like okay, wait. All right. Let me take this. I do have a little thing. I can do something with this. So this dip, what was this dip here? This was, did he do an offering or something like that?
Dude, when they do an offering, it goes up. They're happy when they get diluted.
I know, but this one, it did an offering and it went down for a little bit, right?
I don't remember. I get probably right.
And they bought more Bitcoin.
I feel like that dip was just like Bitcoin fell that day. And so, but outside of that.
It doesn't actually trade exactly with Bitcoin.
That's
so
true.
It was 338. So 338 was the breach, which was open above today. You have a hard trigger long on this today. So this brings, oh my God.
What?
513.
513. Oh, it was earnings, the 42 billion announcement. That's when it went to. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, because where I can only go a little dip to a little bit and then an extension, right? So even if this extension goes, see how this extension, if I just go from here, so you got this pullback, right? This pullback, and then that pullback breaches 270, and this pullback gives you extensions up to 370 with primary targets in the 350s. You finally get there eventually. I mean, this is in very short order. See how it stops. And then now, so that is done. And then we eventually get the next one, which is this current pullback. And we're doing the same thing. So this takes us to.
Does this all ever just collapse on itself? Or
oh yeah, dude. Like if he runs out of money and Bitcoin goes down.
But let's say right now it's trading at like a 4x premium to net asset value. Let's say Bitcoin keeps going higher. Is there ever a world where people are just like, I'm not paying the premium? Or do you think it will go higher if Bitcoin goes higher?
If he runs out of money, because then he can't continue to compound it. Like how much leverage can he do? Because it's when Bitcoin starts to come down, which will happen in 2 years' time, maybe 3 years' time. Like then it's going to implode. It's going to be self-implosion, like a massive one, but not until then. And he has plenty of time to figure out what to do before then. So, and the dude is a smart guy, clearly.
Definitely true. He is a smart guy. Okay, can we do CleanSpark real quick?
I can't believe I just said over 500 on this thing. CLSK, I was tempted today. Tempted. It's a proper retest here. I don't have anything on this. 1330 was proper. the miners, it's right in here. So what I really want to see is CleanSpark reclaim that type of like chop area. And so it's sitting on this high. It already gave us this one. So right now, as long as we can continue, so it's there almost. It's $14.97, $15. I think that we make a quick shot to 20s. If this goes, it's going to be one of those where it's just like kaboom. You blink and it's like whoop. So you want to see this. We want to see this holding over 13s, really. So this is we would call this COCH, or change of character, because this was in a downtrend. It was in a downtrend, and now it's broken that prior downtrend, and now this old resistance level has now become essentially support again. So this is a good area to see it back test after the big pop. I also have a little bit of confluence here. I'm guessing this is going to be about 50% of that last pop. Yep. 618 golden pocket kind of retrace. You need to see it over 14 and change. And then you can target that like high 19s or mid 19s. Or if you want to cut it short, 1650s, because that's that point of control right in here.
Okay, can we do AMD?
So not a fan, but the chart is iffy. And then now they're going to do cell phones. Is that right?
I think. I didn't know they were doing cell phones.
You didn't? It's a headline today. Somebody in the chat.
Really? They're doing cell phones?
Yeah.
They're chips on cell phones?
Uh-huh. Like going after Qualcomm.
Ah.
So it's not, so unlike a lot of the others, it's not in an uptrend, right? So this is your prevailing downtrend. You tried to get through here, you pulled back, you tested, but you didn't make a lower high or a new high. This is the last high that this had to breach. So this AMD needed on this last press over here. This is October press. It really needed to make a new high to confirm an uptrend. It did not do that. And then it came back down, and it's just kind of like hugging this prevailing downtrend. The thing about where it is now is it's not breaking down anymore. So I feel like the sellers are maybe exhausting themselves. So, but do we have interest in terms of buyers? So this one, you do have a little gap. So you trade for the gaps. By the way, here's that little session gap, 34s. You trade for the gaps when they're in range, right? If they're not in range, then no. And trajectory is sitting there. So from this fail below that downtrend, you're into it. At this point, it can bounce a little, but look, you're still, even on this like very small time frame, you're still making a series of lower highs, although you have stopped making lower lows, because this low here this is a higher low. Technically, this is another higher low. We just don't have a higher high. So it could just go into that rest period. And when I draw this line across, this is a pretty interesting spot on AMD at 135. So if this does hold, this is a good spot kind of to like get interested in it. I just don't really have a big trigger. And I think if you connect this high to this high, so this is July 2024, March 2024, and get this kind of trajectory here, you'll see this. It'll do its thing. It might not go, but eventually you want to see this. What you want to see is you want to see this breach of 150 and then pull back, come back in and lock in a higher low. And that's gonna be a better setup. It is gonna look a little like this, something like that. So this is setting up. In the meantime, like this, if it does pop through this prevailing downtrend, this pop could actually take you all the way to 160 near term. If it does, and then it'll probably pull back. You might even see a little something like this, which even in this instance, that's fine as well, right?
Right.
It's the same thing, but we're not through this prevailing downtrend. We're very close to it. We failed. You guys see what's happening. We're below it. So once we're back over it, I think that you're in the clear, and it's trying to get there. It's just not just not quite there yet. So this is even all these little minute, like little tiny areas, like it's got to get through. So I would say 143, over 143, this is likely going to be breaking this downtrend line, even if you don't have this on your chart. So it's basically 143.50. If it's over 143.50, it's above that trend line, and you're potentially squeezing. I say in air quotes squeezing because it may not be it'll be a short-lived pop, and that could pull back. And on the pullback, if that locks a higher low, that'll be a better entry.
Okay. Can we do Marathon and Mara? I don't know if you heard Chris's thesis on this, but they just raised $1 billion interest-free debt yesterday
To buy Bitcoin.
Chris thinks they're trying to become an MSTR and that people will dump MSTR for Marathon.
No. Chris is not. He's not hypothesizing. I'm pretty sure that was public information.
No, that's public. But the question is, can they actually pull off an MSTR and get the same premium? Is the question.
What's weird is like, why would Saylor not want to get into cahoots with them? Because if there was a miner that did that, like that would be right. Like that would be the compound effect of compound effects. He probably wouldn't team up with Mara because he would be afraid that they would overshoot him.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
If they did do that, and I think that's like your oh crap kind of moment. So the miners are all a very similar setup, right? So here's where we are on Mara long term. You're toying with this $20 level. So today's close is encouraging because it stopped going down, but it's sitting on it.
Yeah, there's nothing new about it now.
Well, so here's where we are. Your trade is setting up. I say setting up. It's coming, right? You don't have to front run things if you have like technical Tuesdays on your side, because this looks so exactly like what we're talking about. So I'm going to take these wicks. I think this might be it. So I think this goes on to Serious Watch tomorrow. Let me do this. This is only because this is interesting enough for me to start looking.
And they outperformed all the other miners today.
Yeah.
You know? And they raised $1 billion for 0% interest over 7 years.
Bro, you know what sucks is that I'm gonna have to like whatever. I gave Wolfie a hard time like months ago, and I was like, look, dude, all miners are going to zero watch. And I picked Mara, and I'm like, I'm buying these $13 puts, which by the way are not like red. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. But like, if they do this, it could be, what's the opposite of a black swan? Like bullish. Like, what is that? What is that? I don't know. It's your unicorn moment.
Yeah.
All
right.
It's super speculative. Hold on. So let's do this. What I wanted to see is are there any major trades that are standing up? No. Nothing of substance yet. Not standing out in major. I see $25 calls for January 2027. That's with 3,000 volume.
That's probably
not
Chris.
like
Chris probably bought all those shits today.
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly not super convincing, because it's not a single lot order. If I have a single trader that's laying down multi-millions in a single order, then I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting. But I don't have that yet. Look, when they confirm this, though, if they confirm that whole thesis, well, I thought it was like a thing, but like if it becomes like, here's reality. Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't just do a buy right on this and sell some like December 2025 $50 calls and collect like $500 per contract to be long the stock and have $5 of downside like hedge.
Yeah.
Not a
okay.
bad idea.
Can we look at AFRM?
Yeah, it's going up is where it's going. So AFRM 83.57 already on the target list right here. So weekly direction up. This was the big, we were talking about it down here in the 50s, sub 40s, like all of this is happening. So what we're seeing in AFRM is like, look, if you're not long, I don't tell you. But what Square AFRM, this is why things like Square are really interesting to me now, is that like at this point, this is where Square is now on AFRM. And then then you get this big, then you go parabolic. So we're in it's going, it's happening. Trade is live. Let her play. So you're in this area. I think you could get a little bit of a stutter step right in here, 60s, like mid 60s. But I think ultimately you resolve into the 80s. Technically speaking, this is a weekly chart, mind you, and it's up to 93 on this. So I think as long as you're seeing weekly time frame, higher highs and higher lows, I don't see why we don't see that. You just had this little pullback retest at 51, which was clean 3 days ago, right? So earnings here, 2-day pullback, half gap on earnings, halfway back, boom, explosive candle upside, again, pullback, retest 51.50. This is it. You're in play. You're going down. This is the deal. Like you're going down as in the trade is happening. Potentially 66 as like a little stall point. And then what you want to see is this 63 level breach and then come back, eventually hold as support. And then you're just on to the next leg. So I think you could come up like this, like maybe one more, and then 2-3 days down, hold around 62, and then you're up.
Yeah, and also rates are really good for them as they come down. They can just approve more loans.
Yeah, this is like the same thing. SOFI. I haven't really not super into. I'm more AFRM than Upstart, but these are all going to be very similar. Ooh, super similar. Upstart was leading AFRM not too long ago, but now I think AFRM is leading Upstart. And so if you are into catch-up trades, this is potentially here. So this is Upstart's last pivot, gap down, go. This is 7. We're not just talking about these things in like the 30s, right? It's like 30s, 40s.
Yeah.
It's 71 right in here.
It was 30 like a month ago, bro. It's kind of wild.
Yeah. But yeah, critical mass here. I think this. Look, when's the next FOMC? We don't have it for retail sales.
December 18th.
So retail consumer debt, I believe, all-time high, right?
It's been an all-time high for like a year, bro. Like no one.
It's true. It's true, right? So, right, rising shelter food costs, PPI actually a little bit higher. Retail sales coming in 2.8% versus a 1.9 expected.
It comes down to CPI if we get that cut. We need another one where we stay flat, not accelerate.
So this is where like CPI, I think per Powell, I think still think no rush to strong economy. I think all signs are saying that we do have a strong economy, right? Like economic optimism, 39-month high, 53.2. When was the last time you saw it? It doesn't happen, right? Dollar at 2-year high at the same time. Household debt record high yet again. I agree. I think we continue to see multiple record highs. This is not something new. This is always kind of looming, but it's still continuing. But unfortunately, that means that CPI does potentially from a retail perspective go higher. The only thing that's the rates are really affecting now is this housing sector, which, when you break in CPI, it's shelter, food, and used vehicles were the top 3 that are on my list, right? Jobless claims near 6-month low. Like we're fully employed, right? With holiday season coming in, even Walmart doing Black Friday sales. I mean, before Black Friday, I went to Walmart.
Can we do Walmart? Let's look at Walmart.
I just went to Walmart for the first time in like forever. I'm like, oh God, I remember why. Because the lady wanted to buy like the kiddo a train. And like, I do remember why I don't go to Walmart.
They had a good earnings. They beat top and the bottom.
I mean, they do. I think this comes down to like, do we see this pass through into Target tomorrow, right? Like tomorrow tomorrow.
Yeah,
Target.
yeah, tomorrow.
Does that become the trade, right? Like, does Target like begin to outperform Walmart? Because I don't think, I didn't see. This has like you're here, like it's over 88. You're 93s on like a long-term time frame. Like this is a 12-month chart. Like you are clean. Like this is 12 months.
Walmart's outperformed all of big tech outside of Nvidia this year.
Yeah. But see, like we're way beyond all this stuff at this point. Look at this 12-month chart. Is that just wild? Unless we see the Waltons filing for sales, which I haven't seen in a long time. The Waltons were selling this thing hand over fist forever, and then they finally stopped selling, and then poof, the thing explodes. Yeah, I think you're coming in to retest this levels. Look, it's not like maybe you pull back a little bit, but your 85s was this area. So as long as you're holding this, I mean, really, like, dude, as long as you're holding 83s, like it's that 80 to, I'm going to say 120s. And then they'll probably do another like sales and then they'll split and they split at 150 or something?
Yeah, to 50, and now it's at 80.
Dude, right? Like this is wild.
Can we look at Pfizer?
Dude, talk about a value trap.
I agree with you.
So it's not good current. I think it's RFK, right? Like
Yep.
It's not. So look at Pfizer. You can look at Merck, right? What's the other one? AstraZeneca. Not a good look right now for these guys. So I think so biotech, it's weird. So biotech in general doesn't look bad. But this is 20s, dude. I don't know. Eventually this goes. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, so this is 20s. I always thought it would be like, hey, look, they gotta if they make the next large acquisition and the stock takes a huge duper, and then that's probably your buy, but you're getting really close. So it would be in this area. But the thing is, like, I don't have a great fundamental story on this. Like, so other than, even like over here, I was like, oh, maybe. And then I exited stage left because I just don't have it. Yeah,
I agree with you. There's what's the pipeline? What are the drugs? Like there's no.
They have the CGen, right, that they bought a while ago, and they've had an oral weight loss pill that's been in and out of development for a long time, right? And they just like it's not happening, but so do a lot of others now, right? And so I think this pays a good dividend, but it's like one of those. It's a value
trap.
Yeah, it's a value trap.
Okay, can we look at Netflix?
I told you.
You did tell me. You told me. I mean, the Jake Paul thing, I guess, took them to the next level.
So like, okay, so Netflix has, I told you, dude.
Are you long? Do you have Netflix?
Yeah, I bought Netflix. Last time I bought Netflix at $450. I actually, dude, believe it or not, I went into the weekend short Netflix because I thought it would be a sell the news event.
You thought it would be sell the news because they're servers? That's why? I thought that was the dumbest reason.
Because it was a huge run up. And I'm like, okay, so the event's over. Then what are you going to look forward to? But it hit my target. My target was only 800, like 806 near term. This is like, we're talking over the weekend only, right? And it hit my target in pre-market. And I'm like, shit, you got to get out, right? And it was fine. I actually made money. But I didn't take this reversal. And I was looking at it like, oh my God. So at this point, it's like, we had the Jake Paul event, right? Then we have Christmas, or we have Thanksgiving days. Do they stream
football games on Christmas?
Yeah, so we have football coming. We have a lot more of these events coming for Netflix. I'm like, okay. I mean, the street's clearly taking it up right now. So this is, what do we got? It's only $372 billion.
What do you mean only 300? Netflix is not growing to be saying, oh, it's only 372. I mean, there is growth. It's not like Apple where there's no growth. There is some growth.
Dude, they're taking over the world.
I think Netflix has a monopoly on streaming that's profitable.
Well, what just happened?
They're the only ones that's profitable. That's fair. So I mean,
what just happened to Comcast? I was gonna show you Comcast is like a crap chart, but like, am I looking at this wrong?
Last week, if I'm not wrong.
No, what just happened? Criticize Comcast broadcast. I don't know what just happened. Anyways, let's move on. Yeah, I think, dude, this really wants 1,000, and I had 1040 on my from. It's from here to here. It's 969.
They're gonna do a nice split after 1,000. That's for sure.
Why?
I think they would want to do a split. I think Netflix would want to go back down to like $100. A 10-for-1 split on Netflix at $100, dude. I feel like people would get excited over it.
I mean, sure. So like it's got 1,000 written all over it, 1050s right in here. This is just the basics, just like what we've been doing over and over and over. This retrace extension, all-time highs was a break here, 680s. Look at this, boom, 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 and then we're off and running. This is a power break, dude. This is a power breakout move. So, and it's, because this is on such a larger time frame chart, it might be in spurts, right? And you might have some like violent pullbacks. Netflix was up like $30 today, intraday. It says 25, but honestly, intraday, it was a lot more than that, right? Just from the lows to here, this was like $40. Like that's a lot. And then from the lows yesterday, it's a lot, right? Just from the lows pre-market to here, it was $40. So two $40 days in a row. If we do another $40 day tomorrow, that's $900, just under. I think you stutter step and potentially come back, but now you have this 850 area. That's your last high. So this is now your defensive level right in here for your next support.
Okay, can we do HIMS?
So we had this big discussion. So it was like I had like my post. We make fun of charts every now and then. Have I shown you guys the chart of like patterns?
Yeah, you showed us last time. You showed us.
I did. Oh, okay. Yeah. So you're back in. This was that area right here, $20. Let me pull this back a little bit. $20 here. It was this. So all of this here, you're holding. This is another. So the question I think on HIMS becomes, was this Amazon announcement enough to like really discourage investors completely? And I was on the mindset of no, not right away, because even if Amazon, let's say, so they did release a competitive product, right? Or offer, I that directly competes with a product. I don't know. So Amazon goes after businesses all the time. It's going to take a long time for them to really actually like put a damper on this. I think this goes into now you have these kind of things, it just goes into that like expansion mode again. And so that's where we are. You're in kind of like this range expansion.
Yeah. And it's recovering it's recovering what it lost last week to an extent, because I guess people are
half of it.
Yeah. I guess people are thinking Amazon's not going to destroy them.
I mean, it's a matter of your timeline though, right? So like Amazon, so I think this gets to 25, right here into that area. And then I think that becomes like a trouble spot into this 25 area up here. And it's not going to be unless it's holding over 26s, then you're back into the 33. But yeah, it's a question of, okay, do they have enough runway? It's profitable. Is there enough of a moat in the business offering to really say, hey, look, they can legitimately compete with Amazon and hold a candle to them, right? And how long does that take? And what's their upside in the interim, right? Because like you could have said that for Etsy, right? Etsy has a competitive offer to Amazon, way back when, and I think it did, way back when, over here, right? But like at a certain point, it kind of loses its luster. This is a shit stock. This is a brutal chart right now. I mean, I haven't really looked at Etsy forever, but like that is rough.
Well, the thing about HIMS is Amazon has 100 million Prime members, so I think the street was like, oh, sell off HIMS because 100 million people won't use HIMS. But that's not.
But I don't know that that's true, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's not like there's a lot of people that use Spotify even if they have a YouTube account, right?
Yeah, and it's something about like having to have new appointments or something like that. I don't use HIMS or any products in that area. I got plenty of hair. I'm not going bald anytime soon, luckily. And I'm married and I have a child already, so I don't need the other stuff. So I don't, I can't really talk from personal experience. But I think loyalty at HIMS and what their fundamental moat is around the technology about the business, I think really would deserve a deeper dive for someone that's like really into this stock.
Okay, can we do Snowflake?
So our boy Shay is really into this. I didn't realize it was 130 right now. I think that the sentiment could be this is I don't have any interest in Snowflake right now. Could it be like was I in love with it back then? This is where I get in trouble. So we had a 2-year base on Snowflake over here, right? And this is where like I'm like this could be a square type moment, right? When it gets there, and it goes eventually. And this is to be relevant to the square. Like if it ever fails, like you have this moment where you Slootman. I like the tech, but I don't like the leadership. That's definitive for me.
But do the technicals say breakout if they have a good quarter? Do you?
No. That's the thing. It's not even close to the technicals saying breakout. Like not even kind of close, right? Like no. Like definitively no. No. The thing is that for this to be breakout, it's got to be over 200s. To me, like real breakout, real like life-changing breakout. So it's more like trade levels. If you think, and it has to have a good leadership story at that point. Like, so can it get to 180s? Maybe, right? And then, but for someone like me, I know the tech. I like the tech. I think the tech is important and it's good. I just, without that visionary at the helm, maybe they get it one day, right? Like, let's say they get it one day. Yeah, so I think that this could see 160s easily, but below 185, definitively below 185, this is not in an uptrend. The stock is in a downtrend if it's below 185, really. So that's where I'm coming from. Has it bottomed? The chart says it's basically bottomed. Unless it doesn't, right? Then that's the thing. Like the chart looks like it's bottomed at 110 near term, unless it hasn't. And with this kind of multiple, that would really be my bigger concern. So yes, I think you have like a 50-50 risk on this.
Okay, we got like 3 left, and then Jason, I got to let you go because I know you are busy as well. Jason's Twitter, everybody, is in the chat. Please make sure to follow him. His Discord, his private stuff in terms of groups, courses, all that stuff is available in his links. So you can check him out on Twitter and get more of Jason if you want to be part of his community. Okay, last 3.
Look at this, Chris. Why buy Snow when Palantir is available? Hey,
well,
fair.
That's also fair. All right, last 3. Shopify.
Shoppity shop. Are we not doing shop? Are we doing Trade Desk? Or are we just Shopify? It said shop, right?
Shop. Yeah.
Okay. So
I mean, they had a great earnings, 20% up, right?
Yeah. So I think, so you remember that trick that I did, right? So it's just taking that little, like from the breakout, whoop, up to the highs. You're looking for half of that move back. You're in there. You're going to base. I think this could get to 100. So 100, if this gets to 100 psychological level, I think that becomes like your springboard, and that's going to put you right into this area. So this narrative, I think, is good. I like as close to or below 100 as you can. And that this whole situation here, you have a pretty solid base to defend. So anybody that has sold in here, I think would get net new long again.
Okay. DraftKings.
Do you know Flutter?
I've heard of Flutter. So Flutter is they own FanDuel and they're exploding.
Yeah, I might defer to Flutter. They both look decent. So you're not over 43. Remember, this is the greatest SPAC in the world, right over here. Never got below $10. It was a SPAC. And I think you're right into, again, critical level. So I think this does resolve up. You got like football season coming in. Super Bowl is like you're pump into it. You got a lot of stuff. Like sports betting is just massive right now. But Flutter, I think, is a more constructive chart in all-time high level, just net new exposure to the U.S. markets. Anyways, back to DraftKings, because that's what we were talking about. Like I go on these little rants all the time. 48s, sir.
48. Okay.
Yeah.
48. Fair. I think going long gambling is not the craziest idea right now. Okay. Baba.
Look at Joe. Whatever. No. Baba. So I said, like, if 790, look, not a China guy. Never have been. Never claimed to be. Bro, do you see this chart?
It's stupid, bro. It's like, it's dumb.
Do you guys remember when Amit was like, trying to, was it, no, it was somebody else. Who was it?
Chris likes China a lot.
Chris.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you got the big move, but you locked out lower high. So, but I will say, this is still the area where you'd want to be getting long. Right in here. If you want to be long China, what's true? Look at this, right? Chinese stocks do not trade on fundamentals. If you want to value a Chinese stock like you would value a US stock in the S&P, you're missing the bigger picture. These things trade like proxy to policy and all that kind of stuff. So they've been consistently disappointing. Clearly, what you're waiting for. So technically, this is the retest. You're there, right? This is it. You go a little bit lower, 85 on the sheep. Is it? Or 87? Right in here. So you are full blown retest. You have. Can you believe that that Baba has given all of that move back? All of it.
I never trusted China, bro. Never trusted it.
All of a sudden, every penny has come back. It's not to say that the thesis has changed, because you know what? It hasn't. That's the thing. So if you like China, this is where you go. This is, what's the
you got to double down here if you like China. You got to double down.
Yeah.
And all the big guys, David Tepper, they're doubling down. So if you like China,
yeah. I don't have my sound effect, and even if I did, you'd probably yell at me for doing it. But it's like the, what is it? I am my perimeter, and my perimeter is me, right? Like this is the line. This is where you put your foot down, and you're like, I am my perimeter. My perimeter is. This is it. This is your spot, and it either works or it doesn't. But don't add below here. I would say that I would not I would be like, this is where I take my shot if I want to take a shot, but I would not be adding below 85. No shot. I might just sit there in the red and cry in a corner, but I would not be putting more money to work below that.
All right, last two ones real quick. Deer, DE, non-deer.
You want to look at a pattern. So this looks like the pattern this reminds me of is like one of those barcodes, right? When you see at the store, barcode pattern. So no, legitimately, this is not so this is too long to be anything other than sideways, quite frankly. I mean, when I say long, it's too extended. So first of all, I'm zooming out to like a weekly chart. So what we'd like to see is like, we want to see Deer. Let's do historical. Let's get to know the stock just a little bit. Deer spent 3 years going sideways before it made a major breakout. Before that, Deer spent 10 years going sideways before it made a major breakout. So this is our personality, right? And so 3 years sideways here. Let's see, what do we got here? So far, we're over 3 years. This looks like heavy. I mean, this is like, look, if you get, so this, I don't like this.
I mean,
because if you're super myopic, like super near dated, you might be like, oh, let's see what, without reading any comments, see what they're possibly thinking. Possibly thinking this. You're on the pivot, right? Like you're on critical, like you're on the pivot. Like the dip's probably viable, but like here's the thing: over 450. If Deer's over 450 at some point next year, it's not this year, I don't think. First of all, they have earnings on Thursday, so I can't really chart this. If they have a breakout earnings, it's going to be breakout over 450. And then I'm taking this massive extension. Just make sure that you zoom out, look left far enough, like far. And then you're looking at 540s if you do a breakout. Otherwise, this could just be like a dip to buy in the 350s here, because this is one of those where like, look, you want to kind of trade the edges if you're going to trade it. And then the 350s is the edges. So if you have a fail earnings, I think you could get like a liquidity grab like down potentially, which could be a good pickup depending on your time horizon. Eventually, it would break out here, but this is years long, right? This is like years long of a setup.
Yeah. Okay. Last one is Applied Digital, APLD. Nvidia invested in them recently.
It's interesting.
And they got
look like a lot of these penny stocks too. Yeah. Have you seen OKLO? I haven't looked at that.
KLO?
Oklo.
Oh, Oklo. Yeah. I mean, they're just trading on nuclear headlines.
Yeah, but nuclear, I think, is
it's a big deal. Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, that Comcast news, they're moving forward with a spinoff of its NBC Universal cable channels, including MSNBC, Entertainment, and USA Network. That's why.
So they're moving forward with a spinoff.
Yeah, which I think
as in, are they cutting it out?
I think that's what it means. Yeah, I think that's
selling off. Oh, that's yeah. So is it going to be a split? Like
I guess Comcast shareholders will get some more shares of two different, or they're selling it per se, or it's not. I actually don't know what it means.
If they spin it off and it becomes a new ticker NBC, then we could short that. Right? We could short that.
Oh man. Rachel Maddow public. That would be quite the ticker.
This is squeezy. It clearly trades on headlines. If you can get over 10s, you can have a big deal move on yourself on your side. But this is not this is sketchy because it hasn't broken it yet. Maybe a pullback, hold the like mid 8s, and then goes for it. Sorry, did you just hear that? Did I just burp into the microphone?
No, you're good. If you did, I didn't hear it.
Like this. So it's not usually the third try. 1, 2, 3. It's probably the fourth try. So a little pullback, hold the 8s, and then I think on the next attempt, this would go. But you want to be really careful because like the pattern people, they'll be like, "Yo, this is where I want to step in." If you want to be a good bull, you got to know where the bears are hiding, and they're hiding right here.
Okay. Actually, the last thing we need to do is Bitcoin because we didn't do that.
Ooh, Bitcoin.
But we got new all-time highs today, which is
happy all-time high day. Just telling you, it's just a foregone conclusion. It's like this is where we are. 120s, and the multi-year. I did post something the other day, and I thought it was interesting. It was a halving cycle update. So I didn't really notice this, but so this is the first halving, second, third halving. So each halving has been like a little bit lower. And I think this makes perfect sense. And I actually expect something super similar. But this is where we are. A little right here. I don't think we get to 400s.
That would be fun. That would be really fun.
Yeah, no. But it's what it is, right? It's what it is, right?
400 would be. I mean, Tom Lee says 150, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, paper says 122,490.17. What do I say? $122,490.17. Lock it in. But anyways, so we have this little extension here, little blip at the 90s. I think we hit this 98, just under. So you're going to get to 100K. You're going to get really close. And maybe that happens around Thanksgiving. And it's going to get real wonky, right? It's going to be 100,000, like 100K psychological resistance level. You're going to have what seems to be probably some kind of epic pullback. Big, Bitcoin's down 10% in a day. Palantir's down 10% in a day. 2 days later, it's up 20%, right? Like it's going to be something like that. And it's going to have a little stutter step just under 100K, right? So like around 98s and change. And it's going to like chill there for a bit. I think we make that trajectory here into Thanksgiving. That's where we kind of stall. Maybe we see what feels like a blow off top around Thanksgiving, breaching that 100, and then come back in. We might even come back in and retest 92s, but that's going to be after we breach. So just no, that's what I'm thinking. Then we get here, and if we can really hold that 98 level, it's 115s into Christmas.
Dude, that would be the Santa Claus rallies of Santa. Dude,
it's 115
into Christmas, bro.
Yeah, as long as we can hold 98s, right? So like we got to breach 100. We'll have a little pullback. We really can hold 98s. That's 115s into Christmas and 120s into Q1. The end of Q1.
I feel like owning Bitcoin proxies, even as a certain percentage of your portfolio, is important if this plays out, right? Because if this plays out and there's no exposure to anything Bitcoin related, it could just kind of sucks for portfolio.
There's no reason not to be, right? You can buy BTC, right? Like BTC straight up is the micro grayscale. You could buy a leveraged BITX.
MS. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can get exposure with.
Yeah. And honestly, I think as we get into this, like those flows, like when they start buying, like you'll see it, right? Like you'll start to see it, right? So anyways, I think we're here. This is, oops, I had a really good chart here. So we're getting there. We still have a little bit of work to do here. I think Solana, back in business, right? I think.
Oh, so they pumped over the weekend.
Well, yeah, this is significant move after being relisted into it's 300s, man, on Sol 300s. There's a new and I haven't run into a new layer one hyperscale, like a new platform play in crypto in a long time. But I did run into this recently. I have not done my research here, but as far as I know, I believe this is a platform play or layer one SUI. Interesting. I haven't done the research.
What Cristiano Ronaldo says? SUI?
I don't know.
Isn't that like his thing, guys? For soccer people, isn't that what he says? Right? When he like gets a goal, unless I'm saying it wrong.
Oh, you say I don't know, but this is a blockchain. I don't know it well enough. It's called Sus. It's not a meme coin. So that's it's interesting.
I was right. You guys see, I have some culture, baby, when it comes to football. All right.
Football.
Got some culture.
This is my other one. This is going to be a little bit, but you can go through. I feel like you could just take a dart, dude. Even this freaking Litecoin, man, is starting to like, what was going on here? Litecoin, I'm like, whoa, this thing is like flying the other day. Like, whoop. We talked about algo. Remember last time we talked about algo? Look at Amit from here to here. We just talked about this last week. This is like
alt season.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard of some meme coins, dude. People have made ridiculous money on some of the coins in the past week. Some of the numbers that I've heard. People getting in. You know, there's a company I found out that's like a private company in like some random island, and their job is to just find meme coins and like buy them up and then sell. And you know, like there's companies dedicated to this hustle.
Yeah, dude.
It's pretty incredible.
All right, for my people, they're asking about what the next target on Doge is. It is 65, 64, 63 and change. If you break through 43, I had 45 as my target here, but we got there. I'm not long this guy. We got close enough for government work to me. If this does breach 45s, you are looking at 63.5.
Dude, we got to get to $1 on Doge and fulfill the prophecy. It was supposed to get to $1 in 2021. Didn't happen. And now it's time. Also, Robinhood relisted Solana and Ripple.
Oh, no, that was big. That's a big deal.
That's great for Hood, and that's great for the overall coin.
Check bonk. I don't know. Is this a meme coin?
Yeah, it's a meme coin. Coinbase listed them, I think, recently.
Oh, God. What is the other one?
Pepe. I think Robinhood listed Pepe, I believe.
Is it Pepe? I thought it was Peep.
No. All right, it's time to end the stream.
Yeah.
What? Peep?
It's Peep.
Where did you get Peep from this, bro?
I know, a little like
it's
Easter.
Not please. It's please separated by
P-E. Peep.
Pepe.
Peep.
All right, folks.
Watch tomorrow. Meta, potential big reversal setup. We'll see.
And tomorrow we have Nvidia. So you got Jason's Twitter right there in the chat. If there were some tickers we didn't cover, hit him up in the DMs, ask him, go to his Discord. There's a big community there. But Nvidia tomorrow, gut feeling, good or bad on Nvidia?
Oh, I think good. I think 150, 160s ideally. But yeah, I'll wait for it to get leaked.
Okay, and do you think Doge goes to $1?
No, one step at a time, Matt. I just gave you guys 63. If it's over,
that's I'm like, you gave us a target, yeah. So he gave us a target there, yeah.
Yeah,
got it. Yeah, I think it'll be cool for Nvidia tomorrow.
And I don't know what Peep does, but it's Peep to me.
It's Pepe, bro. It's not fucking.
Wait, when you type it out, it says Pepe.
That's Peep. Pepe. Pepe. I want to learn the history of Pepe coin. How did this thing like become a thing?
Hey, dude, listen. I've been saying this Peep wrong in my mind for I don't know how many years now. Apparently, it's Pepe.
All right, Jason, we appreciate you.
All right, man.
3 hours every week he spends with us. Means the world. Thank you, brother. Please make sure to follow him on Twitter.
All right. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate everybody here. I will see you on the next one.
Adios. Next week. Thank you, Jason. Bye-bye.
Later. Bye.
Look at Chris joins at the end. Y'all are still alive. Bro, it's the hustle, baby. It is the grind. It is the hustle. And I didn't have to stand for 3 hours, which also kind of helped navigate this whole situation. Chris, we talked about Marathon. We talked about Marathon at 2 hours, 14 minutes, and 12 seconds. Dude, I started doing timestamps on Finance Junkies 2 years ago, and I've not stopped. And now when I get to a YouTube video and there's no timestamps, I'm like, all right, why am I even watching this? And so you guys will always have timestamps. It's not AI. It's me fucking typing it right at the moment. Whenever you see me look to my computer before I get to a new topic, that's just me like typing up the timestamp so that it's good to go. All right. So today we did Palantir, Tesla, Square, Rocket Lab, SoFi, Nike, NVIDIA, Hood, Meta, Grab, Archer, Amazon, PayPal, MicroStrategy, CleanSpark, AMD, Marathon, Affirm, Upstart, Walmart, Pfizer, Netflix, Hims, Snowflake, Shopify, DraftKings, Baba, Deere, Applied Digital, and Bitcoin. And then a bunch of coins at the end. I'm sure we missed some tickers. So if we missed them, follow Jason on Twitter. You can probably hit him up and try to get some more of those tickers. But it's a decent amount of tickers. Hopefully it was a good TA session. And we'll be back next week to kind of see what we got going on. And that's pretty much it. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow live for the market open. And then we got NVIDIA after the bell. Well, I'll be talking XRP with Steve on Friday. So we'll be talking about XRP on Friday. So we will get the Ripple stuff on Friday and have a discussion. And then, yeah, that's NVIDIA tomorrow kind of determines the rest of the market. And we will get to see if that momentum can continue for NVIDIA. All right. Thank you, everybody. Love you all. Thank you again for joining every single day. It means the world to me. Really appreciate it. Hopefully you guys are getting value. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it. I love doing this every single day, morning and open, and or morning and close. And we're just going to keep it going. And NVIDIA is a big one. NVIDIA, if we can do good on NVIDIA, that's a really good roundup to Q3 earnings. We got some big retailers in the morning. And so we will be back in the morning to analyze the markets. All right. Love you all. Thank you. See you guys tomorrow morning on the market open. Bye, everyone.